Konoha, the birth of the ninja clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26 Twins. Dang. 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 A burst of forging sounds came from the forging room of Yushin's new home. At this time, in the forging room, Yushin was hammering a rough piece of wood. In 2 months, the 3 older ones will be 3 years old and can officially practice. After some inquiries, the eldest, Miruta, decided to take the turret route and mainly learn ninjutsu because he felt that it was safer to release ninjutsu from a distance, and he looked like a steady person. The youngest, Jiro, was most like Yushin, so he decided to focus on swordsmanship. The third, Yoran, was smart, but he was weak in character. He had decided to inherit his mother's business and become a medical ninja. Although it is said that if you persuade people to study medicine, God will strike you with lightning. But after Zizi knew the third child's decision, she was happy for a while. She immediately decided to teach the third child to exercise in person. Now Yushin is making a ninja sword for the second child. In the past 2 years of mining career, Yushin has also accumulated some rare ores, which is more than enough to make a few chakra weapons. But now he is not ready to give them such good weapons at the beginning. So he decided to make an ordinary ninja sword for the second child by himself. When Yushin was concentrating on making it, the eldest child hurried in, his little face covered with sweat. He breathed a sigh of relief. He shouted to Yushin anxiously, "Dad, go and have a look. Mom suddenly has a stomachache and asked me to call you back." Swoosh. Miruta was confused. How could his father suddenly disappear when he was about to go back to report to his mother? Swoosh. Yushin's figure appeared again. Before Miruta could ask any questions, Yushin picked up Miruta with one arm, rushed directly to the roof, and returned to Kiko's room in a few jumps. After entering the room, Yushin hurriedly put down Ganta, rushed to the bedside and anxiously asked Zizi, who was moaning softly, "How is it?" Zizi was lying on the bed with a pale face and sweat all over her head. "My water just broke. Go find someone quickly." Yushin turned his head and told the 3 children, who didn't know what was going on, "You take care of your mother here. Don't be naughty. I'll be back soon." After that, a black shadow flashed and disappeared again. Yushin shuttled across the roof at a very fast speed. There was still half a month before the due date. Who would have thought that Zizi was going to give birth now without any preparation? Yushin arrived at Senju's house soon, just when Tsunade was arguing with Naoki. Since Naoki learned the 3-character classic, this has become a daily activity for the 2 siblings. After seeing Tsunade, Yushin directly urged, "Tsunade, come with me quickly, Zizi is going to give birth." After hearing this, Tsunade didn't care about arguing with Naoki. Leaving Naoki behind, she followed Yuta and rushed to his home. "What? The third Hokage is obviously a good man. Why does my sister keep refusing to recognize him?" Naoki, who was just 6 years old, didn't know the dangers of society yet and was fooled. Mito, who heard the noise and came out to check the situation, happened to hear Naoki's words. He looked at the direction where Yuta left and was distracted for a while. He turned around and smiled and asked Naoki to do his homework. After returning to the house, he hesitated for a while, gritted his teeth, and took out a scroll to start engraving. At this time, at Yuta's house, Yuta listened to the sound coming from the delivery room. Yuta's heart was tangled, and he walked back and forth in a mess. "Yuta, relax a little. Didn't Tsunade say that the fetus is in the right position?" Seeing Yuta walking around and sweating, Hatsukimo comforted him. Yuta smiled bitterly when he heard this. He couldn't relax. Maybe he has concerns in his heart. In the past few years, Yushin has felt more and more that the closer he is to this world, the less he can hide his thoughts. Maybe this is what the 3 generations want to see. Just as he was about to say something, he heard a baby crying. He was happy and was about to run over. Long John held him back and said with a smile, "Why are you running over? Can't Tsunade let you go to the delivery room now?" Upon hearing this, Yushin stopped and smiled awkwardly. He was also confused, forgetting that this world is not the technologically advanced era of the later generations. Under the current conditions, mothers will try to reduce pollution sources when giving birth, so it is impossible for husbands to go in and accompany the birth. Last time, they were beaten out by Mito, who delivered the baby. After a while, another baby cried. Everyone was stunned. It was indeed a double shot. Although everyone had known it for a long time, they still couldn't help but envy. Especially Hatake Tsukumo and Michael Day, two single dogs, saw that Yushin, who was the same age as them, already had 5 children, and they didn't even know where the mother of the children was. They began to worry. After a while, the door of the delivery room opened, and Tsunade came out with a smile, congratulating Yushin. Mother and child are safe, and they are twins. The older one is a girl. Hearing this, Yushin grinned and almost went crazy. The third generation who heard the news also smiled. Twins are good. This will deepen the bond between Yushin and Konoha. At this time, Day suddenly said, Yushin, you have so many children, it must be difficult to name them, right? What's the matter? Yushin is, Tsunade, who was outspoken, almost told the truth about Wenzong, but was covered by the quick-eyed and quick-handed Hatake Tsukumo. This can't be said casually. Now the third generation is in high reputation, and Konoha is also thriving. If people knew at this time that the third generation was a villain who deceived the world and stole the name, it would cause a big mess. Even Danzo didn't dare to say that this was a fuss. Tsunade also knew that she almost caused a big mess just now. After pulling away Hatake Tsukumo's hand, she just glared at him fiercely and didn't hit him. The third generation remained calm and was kindly teasing Miruta and others who were worried. They already knew that their mother was going to give birth to brothers and sisters for them. At this time, they heard the movement in the house and knew that the brothers and sisters were already born. But their fathers ignored the 3 of them and were worried that their parents would not want them anymore. At this time, the uncle who came last came to comfort them. They thought this uncle was a good person. After seeing the behavior of the third generation, Yuta realized that he had ignored Miruta and others, and hurried over to hug them and coax them. Seeing the way Yuta coaxed the children, the third generation felt relieved. At least Yuta still cared about his family, otherwise there would be no way to stop Yuta from messing around now. It was not easy for Yuta to comfort the 3 adults. Tsunade and Long Giant's wife, who went back in, each came out holding a child. Fortunately, the people in the Naruto world have better physiques, and they also had the experience of Ganta and the others last time. Otherwise Yuda would really think that Tsunade had some bad intentions towards his children. Looking at the 2 wrinkled babies, Yuda asked with concern, how is Dizzy? Tsunade rolled her eyes at Yuda and said, if you want to know, go and see for yourself. After that, she and Long Giant's wife took the children back to the house. Yuda also wanted to go in and take a look, but it was not easy to leave a yard of guests here. He had to send them away one by one before he hurried to seize his situation. No one noticed that the third generation walked back with a lighter step. Chapter 27, The Uneasy Ninja World. Just when Yuta was happy that the family had added 2 new members. Water Country. Damn, this monster. A mist ninja knelt on one knee on the ground, holding his injured left arm with his right hand, helplessly watching his companions being slaughtered by a slug monster not far away, and cursed with despair. The monster's 6 huge tails swept, and several mist ninjas were blown up without any chance to fight back. Their ninjutsu hit the monster, but it had no effect. Everyone who can still fight, hurry up. Use the Great Waterfall technique. After hearing the order, more than 30 surviving mist ninjas quickly lined up in a row, formed seals with their hands, and shouted at the same time, water style, Great Waterfall technique. Dozens of elite ninjas performed the Great Waterfall technique at the same time, and the power was extraordinary. In an instant, a huge wave formed, rushing towards the raging monster. Seeing the surging waves, the monster raised its head, and a huge purple chakra ball quickly condensed in its open mouth. The energy contained in it crushed the surrounding air. The monster arched its body, threw its head downward, and the terrifying chakra ball crashed directly into the huge wave. Boom. The huge collision force caused a wave of air that directly overturned the mist ninjas. The mist ninjas who fell to the ground did not bother to check their injuries, and looked in the direction of the monster. After the smoke dissipated, the monster was still safe and sound. It shook its head and opened its mouth, and another chakra ball was quickly forming in the monster's mouth. After seeing this scene, the leading mist ninja looked desperate. Isn't the Mizuki here yet? Damn, we can't hold on anymore. After a while, the huge chakra ball was ejected by the monster and flew towards them quickly. Just as everyone was waiting to die in despair, ice escape secret technique, rock hole no, a cold airflow blew over, quickly forming a huge ice wall in front of everyone. Boom. There was a huge collision between the chakra ball and the ice wall, and a small mushroom cloud quickly rose. Looking at the huge explosion not far away, the mist ninja on the ground hurriedly covered his eyes with his hands. When the light faded, a man wearing a shadow hat and a shadow cloak stood in front of everyone. It was the third Mizuki who rushed over urgently. As a descendant of the Mizunotsuki clan, the third Mizuki who possessed the ice release bloodline, he still had some means to deal with the tailed beasts. He jumped into the air and quickly formed seals with both hands. Ice release, ice prison. A huge ice ball quickly formed and froze the monster directly inside. Sealing squad. Quickly seal the Vulpix. This technique won't last long. Seeing that the Vulpix was temporarily trapped in the ice ball, the Mizuki immediately ordered the sealing squad he brought. Great. We are finally saved. Lord Mizuki is so awesome. So many of us couldn't deal with this monster, but Lord Mizuki solved it with just one move. Of course. Lord Sandaime is the strongest Mizuki of all time. How hard is it for him to deal with a mere monster? Yeah. Doesn't it say in the book 3 character classic, by the third generation, the glaciers were driven away. The enemy fled, while the battle was in front. It's really well written. Listening to the praise from his subordinates, even the third Mizuki, who always showed an icy face, couldn't help but feel a little proud. Lord Mizuki, the seal has been completed. However, this seal can only last for half a year. If there is no better sealing technique after half a year, the Vulpix will break the seal again. It can only last for half a year? The Mizuki asked disappointedly. Yes, because it has been sealed for a long time. The Vulpix's temper has become more and more violent, and its resistance has become more and more fierce. So this time it can only last for half a year. Okay, I get it. The Mizuki waved his hand. Since the Vulpix has been sealed, you should immediately rescue the wounded and take them back to the village for treatment. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. After saying that, he ignored the admiring eyes of his subordinates and went straight back to his office. After the Mizuki sat down, he picked up a pen and wrote a few secret letters. Water turtle. Swoosh. A ninja dressed as a Kariga Kuranbu suddenly appeared. You go and arrange for someone to send these letters out. Remember to keep it secret. Yes. After the Anbu left, the third Mizuki couldn't help rubbing his forehead. Although the battle with the Vulpix just now seemed extremely easy, that was when he was fighting with all his strength. The large amount of chakra consumption also made him a little dizzy. A few days later, the third Reikage looked at the secret letter in his hand, thought about his own tailed beast and the first Reikage's wife Mito, and said to the messenger, "Go back and tell your Mizuki that I agree to his proposal." Almost at the same time, the third Tsuchikage Inoki of the Rock Village, the third Kazakage of the Sand Village, and even Hanzo of the Rain Country received the secret letter from the Mizuki, and finally agreed to the proposal in the Mizuki's letter. So, in the atmosphere of the whole people of the ninja world learning the 3-character classic, a large number of strange travelers quietly entered the whirlpool country and quickly lurked. Just as the undercurrent of the ninja world was surging, Yuta was also dizzy at this time. Oh, don't cry, Anzi, don't cry. Yuta was hugging her crying daughter and coaxing her. Wow. The fifth one also came to join in the fun. Suzuki came in and saw Yushin in a panic. She quickly picked up the crying fifth child and reached out to touch the fifth child. He's pooped. Seeing Yushin's confused look, she rolled her eyes at him and then skillfully changed a new diaper for the fifth child. She handed the fifth child to Yushin again and took the fourth child. She saw that he had also peed. No wonder he kept crying. Seeing Suzuki easily coaxing the two children to sleep, Yushin was greatly relieved. Why don't we find a few nannies? I'm almost driven crazy by these guys. Suzuki looked at her haggard husband and felt a little distressed, so she nodded in agreement. Then fine too. It's really a bit difficult to take care of more children. Recently, the eldest children have been much more well behaved, afraid that we don't want them anymore. I wonder if we have paid less attention to them recently, but the two little ones can't leave them alone. Thinking of the cautious look of Miruta and the others recently, Suzuki felt distressed again. But the fourth and fifth children were just born and couldn't leave them alone, so naturally they didn't have much time to accompany Miruta and the others, so they thought that their parents didn't like them anymore. After discussing with Kiko, Yuda found Mito the next day and asked him to introduce a few reliable nannies to him. Although the situation of the Senju clan is much better than that in the original book, there are still many women whose husbands have died living in the clan. Most of these women have children, so it is naturally difficult for them to remarry. So they live on the support of the master's family. Now Yuta is looking for a nanny, which gives them a chance to be self-reliant. After Mito found these women, he generally introduced their situation. In the end, Yuta chose two middle-aged women who looked honest and decent. After thanking Mito, he took them away. With the nanny, Yuta felt much more relaxed. He began to personally teach the three older ones to study and exercise. Seeing that their father began to accompany them again, the three older ones were relieved and no longer had to worry about their parents not wanting them. Just after his third birthday, Yuta called Miruta and the other three together and began to teach them to refine chakra. Looking at the three sons sitting upright in their seats, Yuta nodded with satisfaction. Chakra is a kind of energy produced by the perfect fusion of various energy components controlled by the human body. First, Yushin introduced to them what chakra is, and then Yushin explained to them the properties and classification of chakra and various bloodline limits. Finally, he solemnly said to the three of them, "We in the Yushin family also have our own bloodline limits, which is magnetic escape. In the future, if you awaken your own bloodline limits, you are not allowed to tell anyone, except mom without my permission. You can't show your bloodline ninjutsu at will. Do you hear me?" "Yes. I heard it. I promise not to tell anyone." Seeing that their father was so serious, Miruta and the other three also quickly promised. Please vote. Please read. Please collect. Chapter 28. My son's talent. After instructing his three sons, Yushin began to teach them how to refine chakra. First, Yuto, who had always been weak, refined his own chakra. His little face looked at Yushin excitedly, and the yellow hair on his head also became brighter. After seeing Yuto's expression, Yushin came over and rubbed his head and motioned him to be quiet. Yuto nodded proudly, standing beside Yushin and watching the brothers who were refining chakra seriously. Then Miruta and Jiro also refined their own chakras one after another. But Jiro did not feel the joy of successful refining. Instead, he said to Yushin with a puzzled look, "Dad, after I refined chakra just now, I seemed to have a strange feeling. It seems that the chakra I refined can control something, but I can't tell." Oh. Yushin was stunned for a moment. Could it be that he awakened the magnetic escape? Yushin picked up a screw and said to Jiro, "Try it." Miruta and Juto also gathered around curiously, staring at the screw in Yushin's hand. They all knew that they would also awaken the bloodline limit, but they didn't expect Jiro to awaken first. Staring at the screw in his father's hand, Jiro tried to recall the feeling just now and used his chakra to try to control the screw in Yuta's hand. Seeing the screw in Yuta's hand move little by little, Miruta and Juto couldn't help but let out a sigh and then looked at Jiro, who was trying to control the screw with envy. No more chakra. Although the screw only moved a few centimeters, there was no doubt that Jiro had awakened the magnetic escape. But Yuta was not too happy, but looked at Jiro solemnly. In the ninja world, generally speaking, the earlier the bloodline limit is awakened, the greater the potential of the awakened person. But if it is awakened too early, the awakened person will die young, because the body cannot withstand the power of the bloodline limit. Itachi and Kimimaro are typical examples. So after confirming that Jiro had indeed awakened the magnetic escape, Yuta was not happy. Instead, he was worried that Jiro's awakening of his bloodline limit too early would have a bad effect on his body. After instructing Ganta and Juto again, asking them to keep what happened just now a secret, he took Jiro to find Kyoko. Kyoko was puzzled when she saw her husband walking over with Jiro with a serious face. Shouldn't Yuta be teaching the 3 children to refine chakra at this time? How come it ended so quickly? Seeing Yuta's serious expression, Kayako couldn't help but ask worriedly, what's wrong? Did something happen to Jiro? Jiro also lowered his head and didn't dare to speak. He thought he had done something wrong just now. Yuta saw Kayako's worried expression, so he pulled her aside, whispered to her what happened just now, and also expressed his worries. After listening to Yushin's explanation, Zizi immediately became worried and asked in disbelief, are you sure? Yeah. After seeing Yushin's confirmation, Zizi also began to worry and asked hurriedly, what should we do now? Yushin had no choice but to say to her, it's not certain yet. So I brought Jiro here and let you check him first. Zizi complained to Yushin, I said that children should not be allowed to refine chakra too early, but you insisted. Now, if something really happens to Jiro, I will never let you go. After venting, Zizi turned around and changed to a gentle expression, shouting to Jiro, who was at a loss at this time, come here, come to mom. I heard from dad that Jiro has awakened the bloodline limit. Come, let mom check you. Although Zizi tried to make a kind expression, her trembling voice showed that she was not calm at this time. After all, it was her son who had a problem. What if he really got the blood disease? What would she do in the future? Fortunately, after a careful examination by Kiko, Jiro had no problem at all. But for the sake of his health, Kiko repeatedly reminded him that Jiro should never use his bloodline limit unless it was absolutely necessary. After Jiro's incident, Yuta also slowed down his education process. After all, Miruta and the others were too young, so there was no rush, just take it slowly. But Yuta would not relax on physical training. After all, Miruta and the others were under Yuta's care and had been exposed to the beads. Even if there were hidden injuries, they would recover quickly. Time soon came to the 11th epiphany. It had been 10 years since Yuta got the mysterious beads, and Yuta had also grown from an ignorant boy to a father of 5 children. Looking at his wife and 3 sons surrounding him, Yuta once again reminded his 3 sons, just think about how to control chakra later, don't think too much about other things. Also, no one is allowed to tell anyone about what happened today. Kiko also reminded the sons around him. She also knew that the abnormality of Yuta was the only reliance for their family to rise, so it was not excessive to be so careful. Then let's begin. After Yushin finished speaking, Zizi, Miruta and the other 2 felt clear-headed and their minds were more active than ever before. All the problems they encountered in their training were solved one by one. The next morning, Yushin and Zizi opened their eyes at the same time. Looking at their 3 sons sleeping soundly on the ground, they looked at each other and smiled knowingly. Miruta and the other 3 were too young to have a good understanding of training, so this enlightenment also solved their problem of controlling chakra. Last night, after they came out of the enlightenment, they saw that their parents were still sitting and practicing, so they didn't disturb them, and lay down on the spot and fell asleep. After carrying Miruta and the others back to the room, the nanny had already come to work. Because they lived close to each other, and they had their own children to take care of, the 2 nannies had to go back to their own homes at night. But this was also good, at least it protected Yushin and Zizi's privacy to a certain extent. Now, try to transfer your chakra to this piece of paper, so that you can determine the attributes of your chakra. Yushin was guiding Miruta and the others to test their chakra attributes. As expected, Ganta and Jiro both have dual attributes of wind and earth, while Yuto inherited Yuta's dual attributes of wind and earth, and also inherited Kiko's water attribute. Yuto was very happy to see that he had one more attribute than his brothers. Although he was the first to refine chakra, his second brother was the first to awaken his bloodline limit. Although Yuto didn't say much about this, he was also very disappointed. Yuto knew that he didn't have the courage of his eldest brother, nor the wisdom of his second brother, and felt that he was just a burden. Now that his chakra attribute has one more attribute than his eldest and second brothers, Yuto feels that he can help his parents better in the future. Yuta knew Yuto's little thoughts clearly, but Yuto's temperament was weak, and Yuta couldn't say it clearly, otherwise it would hit Yuto's already fragile self-esteem. Now seeing that he was very happy that he had one more attribute than his brothers, Yuta also praised him a few words, which made Yuto even more excited and full of energy for the whole day. Okay, let's go home now. Today, my brother and sister are all 1 month old. We have to celebrate for them. Oh. Looking at his 3 cheering sons, Yaoshin is also very satisfied with his current life. Please vote, recommend, collect, invest, and everything else. Chapter 29 Mito's Gift. Yushin did not plan to hold a big full month banquet, but only invited a few friends to set up a table at Shinobi Taste. After Zizi left with the 2 twins, Yushin and Zizi began to celebrate. After seeing off the guests who attended the full month banquet, Yushin and Zizi began to open the gifts. This daily is really something. Why did he send 2 more sets? Yushin looked at the 2 sets of green tights of the same style that Mike Day sent him and was speechless. I remember that when Maruta and the others were full month old, Day also sent 3 of the same ones. He and Zizi decided to keep these clothes and let their own children wear them, which would feel very strange. Huh? Who sent this? Why does it feel weird? Zizi opened a gift box and took out a pair of dice from it. It looked very old. No need to think about it. It must be Tsunade. I'm afraid it's another precious cultural relic left by the first generation. Looking at the dice in Zizi's hand, Yushin said with certainty, I'm afraid that Tsunade has lost all her money recently, so she took out her heirloom as a gift. This is for you. Put it on the children tomorrow, otherwise they won't be able to wear it after a while. Shingo and Kyoko finally don't have to wear Miruta's old clothes all the time. Hearing Kiko's disdainful tone, Yuta curled her lips. Aren't all children the same? Besides, Maruta and the others only wore those clothes for a few months. It would be a waste to throw them away. TSK, if you don't want to buy new ones, just say so. But Longjan's wife has great craftsmanship. How about we ask her to make some clothes for us? Whatever you want. Yuta took out the gift from Hatake Tsukumo and opened it to find that it was a small sword made of chakra metal. Tsukumo, this is too much. Why give such an expensive gift? But it happens that my ninja sword will be left to Jiro, and I will sharpen this one for the 2 little ones first. The sword that Yuta made for Jiro before failed, so he gave up the idea of making his own ninja tools. It happened that Jiro was also going to start practicing swordsmanship, so my sword would just be for him, so I would use the one given by Hatake Tsukumo. How dare you? Zizi rolled her eyes at him and suddenly exclaimed, what is this? Yushin looked up quickly and found that Zizi was holding a scroll in her hand. Yushin didn't notice who gave it to her at that time. Give it to me and let me see. Yushin took the scroll from Zizi and opened it. I know who it is. It must be Lord Mito. Yushin closed the scroll and carefully put it beside him. He rubbed his forehead and didn't want to continue opening the gift box. Zizi saw Yushin sitting aside with a heavy heart and put down the box in his hand. He said to Yushin unhappily, look at you. What is it? Look how embarrassed you are. Alas. It seems that I'm destined to work hard. Yushin slapped his thigh. He understood what Mito meant. She just saw that she would not live long and wanted to help the Senju clan find a new backer before Oak Tree grew up. But Tsunade is unreliable and her strength is a little lacking. So Yushin can only be troubled. What? You said you can find Sarutobi Hiruzen. Isn't that letting the wolf herd the sheep? If that was the case, Mito wouldn't have sent all the water ninjutsu of the second Hokage over. It seems that she also intends to let Yuta accept Naoki as his disciple. It's so tiring to deal with these old foxes. Yuta simply gave up thinking about it and lay down on the bed, covering her head with the quilt to sleep. Seeing that her husband was worried, Kiko also tidied up the messy gifts, turned off the lights, and went to sleep. Senju Clanland. Mito was sitting alone in her room at this time, listening to the drunk Tsunade complaining about her teacher and Naoki's loud rebuttal. She sighed and whispered to herself, I can only do this. I hope that, when I die and see Hashirama, he won't blame me. Then she thought of the previous proposal by the third Hokage, to use her husband's body for experiments. Although she knew that the third Hokage had a bottom line, she couldn't help but think that Danzo was in charge of this matter. With his personality and desire for wood release, she didn't dare to imagine what Danzo would do to the Senju clan if she was gone. I hope Yuta can understand my thoughts, right? Yuta did not disappoint Mito. Half a month after the twins' full moon party, he went to the Senju clan to find Mito and discussed with her about accepting Ropetree as his apprentice. Seeing Mito's relaxed expression, Yuta also admired the old woman. In this way, Rope Tree began his apprenticeship. Since he accepted Mito's kindness, Yuta would not be perfunctory. Now, in addition to going to school to study, Rope Tree also has to accept Yuta's special training. Rope Tree leaned on his knees with both hands, panting heavily and looking up at Yuta and his 3 little ghosts who had run away. He couldn't help but complain, "This squinty eye is still so annoying. Damn, what's the matter with those 3 little ghosts in their family? They are obviously a few years younger than me, why can they run so fast?" After a rest, Rope Tree started running again. When he arrived at his destination, Yuta had already started to instruct Miruta and the other 3 in basic training. Yushin just looked up at Naoki, and when he saw that he was fine, he ignored him. Naoki's personality is now too impulsive and arrogant, but he doesn't have the aura of a protagonist like Naruto. Yushin now deliberately ignores him, and lets him train with his 3 sons, just to let him know that he is not omnipotent, and there are many people who are better than him. This will allow him to re-examine his own strength and urge him to train hard. Naoki looked at Miruta and the other 3 who were training seriously, and Yushin was also patiently guiding them. Naoki suddenly felt that he was redundant. A few months later, at the end of a day's training, Naoki was the only one in the entire training ground who continued to throw kunai. Naoki waved his hands and kept looking forward. After several months of training by Yushin, Naoki also realized that he was not a real genius, and he could not even compare with Miruta and the other 3 who were a few years younger than him. But as the heir of the Senju clan, he must be the best one. Because his great-grandfather and second grandfather were both Hokage, and the Senju clan was a clan as famous as the Uchiha clan, he must be a Hokage in the future. Since he didn't have the talent, he would work hard to train and make up for the lack of talent with his sweat. Swoosh, Kai. Naoki couldn't help but increase his strength. The power of the kunai was obviously much stronger than the previous ones. The sound of breaking through the air was whistling, and finally the sound of the kunai piercing the scarecrow target was clearly audible. Yushin stood on the tree and watched Naoki training, and Tsunade also stood beside him. "How about it? Is it much calmer?" Yushin said with some pride. "You bastard, you still have the nerve to say that. Naoki has not only talked less recently, but also has no energy as before. If grandma hadn't stopped me, I would have beaten you up long ago." Tsunade crossed her arms and looked at her brother below with a worried look on her face, but she said unhappily to Yushin's question, "That was also your grandmother's choice. It was also the path he decided to take. You can't expect a brainless guy to sit on the seat of Hokage in the future, right?" Tsunade didn't know how to refute when she heard Yuta's words. Before, Naoki was just naive. You are not allowed to say that he is brainless. In the end, she could only force an explanation for her brother. "Haha, as long as you are happy. But I will not change the training arrangement for Naoki. Although I don't know if he can become Hokage in the future, I can ensure that he lives well." After saying that, he left without caring about Tsunade's reaction. Did I really do something wrong before? Tsunade couldn't help asking herself. Please vote for the monthly ticket, collect, follow up, recommend, and invest. Thanks to KMGHI and other book friends for the monthly ticket, and thanks to BE Jinchen for the 100-point reward. Chapter 30 Exercise. Haha, this little guy is quite interesting. In the Senju clan, Mito took a stack of information that had just been presented to him, browsed through it, and couldn't help laughing. I hope Naoki can understand our painstaking efforts, right? The information in Mito's hand was Naoki's training situation in recent times. Mito was still very pleased with Naoki's changes in recent months. In the past, he was always worried about Naoki's impulsive personality and was afraid that he would die in the hands of people with ulterior motives in the future. But both Tsunade and I were women, and we couldn't bear to correct Naoki's character flaws. I saw that Naoki had become a lot calmer recently, but he didn't talk as much as before. Tsunade thought that something had happened to her brother and wanted to go to Yuda for trouble several times, thinking that Yuda was abusing her brother, but Mito stopped them all. Bang! Tsunade also walked in at this time. Seeing her dejected look, Mito laughed. How about it? Are you convinced now? Alas. What a pity. If you could have married Yuda at the beginning, it would have been great. Tsunade was reflecting on her previous education of Naoki and suddenly heard her grandmother's jizzing. Even though Tsunade was always carefree, she felt a little embarrassed at this moment. After easing her embarrassment, Tsunade walked to sit opposite Mito and said to her in disappointment, "Grandma, do you think I'm a particularly unsuccessful sister? Now I feel that Naoki has changed a lot. Not to mention you, even an old woman like me is the same. We were all negligent before. Naoki has always been with the two of us and has been greatly influenced by us. Especially Tsunade, you are the one who often accompanies Naoki on weekdays. Unconsciously, Naoki's personality has gradually become closer to you. After all, we are all women, and we don't know how to train a qualified clan leader." Mito saw Tsunade's disappointed expression and smiled to comfort her, but she also felt sorry for her granddaughter in her heart. Since Tsunade grew up, she herself has also grown old, and she has to divide her energy to suppress the Ninetales on weekdays, so she has gradually faded out of people's sight. Before Naoki grew up, Tsunade was the pillar of the Senju clan. She did not disappoint her clan members. Before she was 20 years old, she was already one of the best medical ninjas in Konoha, and her combat power was also among the best in her generation. "Grandma. Sister. I'm back." Naoki's voice came from outside the house. Looking at Naoki, who was sweating profusely, Tsunade hurried forward to check on her brother. Naoki looked at his worried sister and felt much better. He wanted Yushin to pay attention to him recently, but Yushin always ignored him. Seeing that her brother was fine, Tsunade let him take a bath by himself. After dinner, Naoki fell asleep. After school the next day, Naoki followed Yushin and his 3 little kids to train as usual. At this time, he could barely keep up with Meruta and the others. In addition to his own efforts, of course, Yushin also covered him in the range of the beat light during this period. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Naoki to achieve this level with just a few months of training. "Okay, we won't do basic training today. And Naoki, come here too." Seeing Naoki, who was about to go to the site for training, Yaoshin called him. Naoki was also stunned when he heard Yaoshin calling him. He thought Yaoshin had given up on him. After all, the gap in talent between him and Meruta and the other 3 was too big. If it weren't for the pride of the Senju clan, he would have given up. Seeing Naoki still standing there, Yaoshin smiled and said, "What? Why don't you come over?" Naoki nodded excitedly. The teacher finally accepted him. It seems that his efforts were not in vain. Looking at the excited Naoki, Yaoshin didn't say much and turned to look at his 3 sons. Yaoshin said to the 4 of them, "Today we will have a simulated exercise. I will split a few clones to be your opponents. This is also a chance for you to show your strength, because your performance next will determine my arrangement for your training. Okay, start preparing." Naoki and Meruta and the other 4 were lying in ambush in the woods, staring at the path not far away. The sun hadn't set yet, but the training ground was already a little chilly. Rope Tree and the other 4 lay in ambush in the woods without moving. Even though Meruta and the others were really uncomfortable, no one dared to make any rash moves. Because they were ninjas at this time, and they didn't want to be easily defeated in their first battle. Only those who could endure this kind of physical and mental training, and the test of will, could become truly strong. Suddenly, Yuto, who had the most sensitive ears among the 4, heard a sound coming from the road below. He slowly turned his head and signaled with his eyes to remind Meruta and Jiro to be ready. Rope Tree also heard the movement at this time. Meruta, Jiro and Meruta looked at the head of the road. 4 black spots were walking uphill, gradually rising and slowly enlarging. Because it was a real combat exercise, Yuta also separated 4 shadow clones, a standard team configuration of 1 large and 3 small. Several people stared at the approaching enemy. The enemy's speed was very fast, getting closer and closer to them. When they were only 10 meters away from Rope Tree and the others, the ambush finally began. After a simple gesture, Rope Tree jumped out first and attacked the opponent in front. Yushin did not let the shadow clone open the perception ability at this time, so he was startled by Rope Tree's sudden attack and barely resisted Rope Tree's first round of attack. However, Rope Tree, who had been prepared for a long time, would not end the attack so easily. A successful ambush means taking the initiative, which means taking advantage. Rope Tree attacked the enemy again. but Yushin's shadow clone has the strength of a genin and easily dodged Rope Tree's attack. With a backhand side kick, Rope Tree's fierce attack was forced back. Seeing that the sneak attack failed, Rope Tree took out a kunai and threw it at Yushin's shadow clone. At the same time, another kunai appeared in his hand and rushed towards the shadow clone. Although the shadow clone only has the strength of a genin, it has Yushin's combat experience. It dodged the kunai shot at it by turning sideways, and at the same time, used the kunai to resist the rushing Rope Tree, and kicked it directly with a kick, kicking Rope Tree away. On the other side, Ganta and his team faced the remaining 3 enemies. These 3 shadow clones also had the strength of genin. Ganta, like Naoki, did not engage in a tug-of-war, but went forward to fight hard. Although the first ambush made the opponent suffer, when the shadow clone came to his senses, his small body was knocked out in the second fight. Jiro summoned 2 clones early, and the 2 clones threw kunai and shuriken frantically in the forest. He took advantage of the situation, and went forward to kill an opponent with a small sword. After a successful attack, Jiro decisively left the place, after killing his opponent. Looking back at the battle situation of Naoki and his team, he reminded Ganta and Naoki, don't fight hard, fight freely. Pay attention to cooperation. Then he rushed to the last opponent. As for Yuto, he was still lurking in the forest waiting for the final blow, which was why Jiro took the initiative to entangle the shadow clone. After Jiro caught the last enemy, he turned his head again and glanced at Meruta and Naoki. These 2 idiots. Oh, really? Jiro cursed in his heart. I just hope that I can use your hot-blooded aura to hold on for a few more times, and then we will rescue you after we have dealt with the enemies here. This time the opponent was well prepared, so Jiro could only fight and retreat, gradually dragging the battle to the edge of the forest, getting closer and closer to Yuto. Please vote for the monthly ticket, collect, read, recommend, and invest. Thanks to KMGHI and other book friends for the monthly ticket, and thanks to BE Jinchen for the 100-point reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 31 Second Phase Training. When Jiro led the opponent to only 2 meters away from the woods, suddenly, the shadow clone found something wrong. The number of opponents and their fighting style were strange. Upon looking, he noticed that there was indeed someone in the woods. Yuto moved. The chakra burst instantly shattered the opponent. After Jiro and Yuto dealt with the opponent, they rushed directly to Naoki and Meruta, because Naoki and his team were already in a very bad situation. Naoki was kicked by the opponent at the beginning, and his fighting power dropped a lot. At this time, he was forced into danger by the opponent. But Meruta's situation was even worse. He was beaten by the opponent, and could hardly stand up. The size difference was too big. Jiro took a breath, tightened the sword in his hand, and protected Meruta behind him. Stupid, didn't Dad tell us before that saving our lives first, and don't rush forward mindlessly when encountering an enemy? Are you in a hurry to give up your head? Jiro stood in front of Meruta and scolded Meruta, who was lying on the ground without looking back. Hearing his brother's words, Wanta was also stunned for a moment, and then asked in confusion, "Hey? Did Dad say that? Why don't I remember it?" Seeing his eldest brother's stupid look, Jiro's expression was directly broken. "Do you listen carefully in class? Don't you have it? Besides, Dad taught us so much, who can remember it all? It's good enough to remember the fighting skills he taught. How can you remember other things?" Jiro was speechless about his brother. Tired. Destroy. After finally solving all the opponents, Naoki and the others were already in a mess. Trample. A sound of footsteps came from behind, and Naoki and the others, who had not yet recovered from the previous battle, jumped up on the spot instantly, holding weapons and looking alertly in the direction of the sound. Wow. Good alertness. Looking at Yuta with a playful look on his face, Naoki's face turned red in an instant. It's so embarrassing. Jiro and Yuto easily dealt with their opponents. And Meruta and I are the oldest, but we still need their help to deal with the enemy. It seems that my efforts are not enough, Naoki thought at this time. Miruta smiled heartlessly and showed off to Yuta. See? Dad, we dealt with the opponent. Jiro felt that his elder brother was very embarrassing now. Don't talk if you can't speak. Didn't you see that Dad's face changed? Yuto carefully observed Yuta's face, and when he saw that Yuta's face sank, he quickly pulled his elder brother who was still complacent. If this wasn't an exercise, and if Jiro and Yuto didn't help, you would have died long ago, Yuta said to the complacent Miruta with a sullen face. Looking at Yushin with a gloomy face, Miruta's stubborn temper came up, and his neck stiffened. But we are a team, and we won in the end. Looking at Miruta with a stubborn face, and then looking at Naoki who had awakened a little, Yushin's head was big. It was not easy to correct Naoki's character a little, but he didn't expect that there was still a brainless son here. Yushin felt that it was time to let them see the dangers of society. Yushin suppressed his anger, put on a smile, and said to them gently, okay, since you are very satisfied with your strength, then I will no longer conduct basic training for you. We will start the next round of training tomorrow, at the training ground at home. Remember to be on time tomorrow afternoon. There will be penalties for being late for training. For some reason, Miruta felt that his father at this time was more terrible than when he was angry just now. The next afternoon, at the Yushin family training ground. Stand up. From today on, you will train here. Everything will be arranged by me. I don't want to hear voices I don't want to hear. Yushin looked at the 4 little ghosts standing in a row below, with a smile on his face. Jiro, do you feel a chill on your back? As soon as Yuta finished speaking, Miruta said to Jiro beside him. He suddenly regretted his actions yesterday. Very good. I'm also very happy that none of you were late today. Yuta nodded with satisfaction. Today is the first day of this stage. The task is very easy. Run 50 laps in the training ground. You can rest after running. If you run more than 40 minutes, you have to run 5 more laps. Do you have any questions? But we are just kids. Yuto retorted. He is usually quiet and would just run in the morning, but now he has to run. When you come here, it means that you are already ninjas. Don't compare the ninja games in the school with this place. This place will let you experience what hell is. Yuta still explained with a smile, but Naoki and the others could see a 2-horned demon appearing behind Yuta. Yuto raised questions and added 5 more laps. Do you have any objections? You asked us if we have any questions? Miruta muttered. Yuta's ears moved slightly. Very good. Miruta raised an objection. Yuto adds 5 more laps. Miruta adds 5 more laps. Are there any more objections now? The little ghosts looked at the smile on Yuta's face and all remained silent. Since there are no objections, what are you waiting for? Run. Yuta's face straightened and he spoke. The little ghosts started running along the training ground. Sorry, Yuto, I didn't expect Dad's ears to be so good. It made you run more. Miruta followed Yuto and apologized while running. It doesn't matter, it's not difficult. Basically, we can all do it. It's just running laps. It shouldn't be difficult for us. Yuto smiled shyly. Boys, you are too proud too early. Yuta smiled and shook his finger slightly. Suddenly, a swamp appeared on the path that the little ghosts had to pass. Earth Escape, Yellow Spring Swamp. Boys, the first lesson of this stage is how to successfully run over the Yellow Spring Swamp. Gather the chakra at the bottom of your feet, and you can walk on the surface of the swamp. As for when to use how much chakra, that's up to you to figure out. Hurry up, hurry up. If you exceed 40 minutes, you will be fined 5 laps. Several little ghosts all stood in front of the huge yellow swamp. Just now, Shengshu tried it, but half of his body sank. Everyone pulled him out with all their hands and feet. No one knows how deep this unscrupulous father, teacher, set the yellow spring swamp. Yuto then jumped out. Brother, I'll go up and try. If the situation is not right, pull me out. Yuto's chakra control is the best among them, and everyone has no objection to this. Yuto jumped onto the swamp formed by the yellow spring swamp. I saw his body sink slightly and then stabilize. Several little ghosts cheered. As long as one succeeds, everyone can complete it after exchanging experiences. I saw Yuto take 2 steps on the swamp, turned around and was about to speak, but he slowly sank. Everyone was startled and tried to pull him up. Yoran sank a little and then stabilized again. He walked over slowly and said to everyone, "It's very strange to walk on the swamp. You have to adjust your chakra at any time because the terrain on the swamp is fluid and can change at any time. And there are whirlpools and countercurrents below. I knew it wouldn't be that easy." Rope Tree complained. Seeking support. Chapter 32, Whirlpool Country. Finally, at Jiro's suggestion, he and Yuto, who had the best chakra control, pulled Rope Tree across. Ganta could barely walk by himself because he had experienced an epiphany. After passing the swamp, before they could breathe a sigh of relief, Yuta's voice came over, "Hurry up. This is just the beginning." Ah. After hearing Yuta's words, the little ghosts wailed and started running again. The kune that flew from time to time along the way, or the sudden rise of hills, these were nothing. What worried the four little ghosts the most were the traps with detonating talismans. Although the detonating talismans would not kill people, the itching powder on them made the little ghosts feel like they were in heaven. Yuta specially asked Zizi to match it, so the effect was of course great. Especially Rope Tree and Ganta. In order to save time, they didn't care about anything. As long as there was no special terrain, they would rush forward directly. Both of them were killed by flying kune at least 10 times and fell into traps with detonating tags several times. If Jiro and Yuto hadn't brought water to help them wash, it's hard to say whether they could survive in the end. Oh, I'm so sorry. The fastest Jiro was 1 hour, 26 minutes and 43 seconds, so everyone will be fined 5 laps for the morning run tomorrow. Of course, the same goes for Miruta and Yuto, and the rest will be recorded first. Yuta smiled gently, but for some reason, Naoki and the others shuddered collectively. The Land of Whirlpools is a small island country adjacent to the Land of Fire. It is a small country with a small land area, surrounded by the sea, a small population, a weak national strength, and a small country that cannot survive a war. However, the country is in a state of panic at this time. In recent months, a large number of strangers have entered the country, which naturally attracted the attention of the Land of Whirlpools. After an investigation, it was found that these people were spies sent by other ninja villages. And these spies are from almost all ninja villages except Konoha. At this time, the atmosphere in the ancestral hall of the Uzumaki clan was very solemn. There are more and more spies in the country now. It is obvious that the ninja villages can no longer bear it this time. There are only 2 ways before us now. Either surrender and hand over the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique, or fight them, but in this way, our Uzumaki clan may no longer exist. A red-haired old man sitting in the front spoke first. He is also Mito's younger brother and the current patriarch of the Uzumaki clan. Then we will fight them. Yes, we will bite off a piece of their flesh even if we die. Looking at the chaotic scene below, the patriarch's face became worse and worse. They all knew how to fight and kill. The problem now is that they can't win at all. With such a small place like the Whirlpool country, how can they fight with these ninja villages? Don't we still have Konoha as an ally? Ask Konoha for help, an elder suggested calmly. With a long sigh, the clan leader successfully shifted his attention and showed a bitter smile on his face. The third Hokage has replied. The fire country can't spare any spare energy to support us now. The northern earth country and the lightning country are eyeing us covetously. The western wind country is also eager to help us. The demigod of the rain country is also very restless. As soon as these words came out, the elders around him all changed their expressions. The third Hokage's implication was that he wanted to give up the Uzumaki clan. But the third Hokage said that we can send some fire seeds to Konoha to preserve our bloodline. The clan leader's voice was very low. These fire seeds are not just to ensure the continuity of the Uzumaki clan's bloodline, but also because the wife of the first Hokage, Lady Mito, is too old and urgently needs a successor. However, this secret does not need to be told to the clan members. How could it be? Is our Uzumaki clan really going to be exterminated? Some people could not accept the reality and said in despair. Seeing everyone's desperate faces, as the clan leader, he had to give everyone some confidence, otherwise he would collapse before the enemy made a move. Actually, you don't have to worry too much. Judging from the current situation, it will take them another year or 2 to make a move. If anyone doesn't want to wait for death, they can either use this time to improve their strength or quietly leave. I don't see who dares to leave. Now is the time for the survival of the Uzumaki clan. Is it still human to leave at this time? Yes. At most, we will die together. I won't leave. When the time comes, we will die together. At least we can't let others laugh at our Uzumaki clan. The more radical clan members said after hearing the clan leader's words. However, there were also a few people who agreed with them, but their eyes rolled from time to time, obviously having other thoughts. Looking at the clan members in chaos below, the clan leader slapped the table hard a few times. Be quiet, now we must first consider preserving the flame of the Uzumaki clan as much as possible. From this incident, Konoha is also unreliable, so we must send as many clan members as possible out, rather than staying here to die together. So I suggest that from now on, we should send out the clan members who have no fighting ability first, as many as we can, and everyone go down to prepare. After the clan leader drove everyone out irritably, he knelt in front of the ancestral tablets. His eyes swept across the tablets one by one, and finally said with a sad and angry face, "Ancestors, the Uzumaki clan is going to be exterminated. There is no longer the vigorous and resolute like before, but it is like a child crying to his parents about grievances." Listening to the angry voice of the clan leader in the ancestral hall, the elders left here with heavy steps, heading towards an unknown future. The Senju clan's territory. Today, Yuta suddenly received a message from Mito, asking him to come to the Senju clan's territory. He knew what Mito called him for. Although he was unwilling to get involved in this mess, he still came here. Lord Yuda, the maid at the door, saluted immediately when she saw Yuda. Yuda nodded and opened the door, and saw Tsunade and Mito both there. "You're here, Yuda." Mito still looked kind. Yuda walked up and saluted Mito. Yuda was very respectful to Mito, and then walked to the side and sat down. After seeing Yuda sitting down, a trace of anxiety flashed across Mito's face. "Yuda, have you heard about the Whirlpool country?" "Yeah." Yuda had heard that the Whirlpool country had sent people to Konoha for help, but was rejected by the third generation. Calculating the time, it seems that the Whirlpool country in the original work was destroyed during this period. But unfortunately, at this time, the Second World War had already shown signs, and Konoha was also busy with its own affairs, so how could it have the time to support the Whirlpool country? Besides, it was not just one or two families who wanted to attack the Whirlpool country this time. Basically, except for Konoha, all the forces in the ninja world participated in this incident. Konoha had to retreat when facing these forces. However, Yuda couldn't say much about this, so he simply replied, "You can't challenge the entire ninja world alone, right?" Seeing Yuda's expression, Mito could only smile bitterly. "Oh. It seems that I really can't escape this time." She couldn't help feeling sad in her heart. "Thank you for your votes. Please support." Chapter 33 The Grim Situation. In the blink of an eye, 29 years have passed in Konoha, and it is now 30 years. During this period, the ninja world has been turbulent. First, Hanzo, the leader of the Rain Ninja village, has been provoking the Fire Country border, and the third generation had no choice but to send Danzo to deal with it. The Wind Country is also gathering troops at the border, ready to attack the Fire Country. At present, the third generation has also sent his 3 apprentices to prevent the Sand Ninja from making a surprise attack. In addition, while Konoha's main forces are dealing with the Rain Country and the Wind Country, various countries have accelerated their infiltration into the Whirlpool Country, intending to eliminate its ally before Konoha can react. They don't know that Konoha has already decided to give up the Whirlpool Country. But even so, all forces are afraid that Konoha will send support to the Whirlpool Country, so they plan to speed up the plan. Pa pa pa. The sound of fists hitting flesh continued to come from the training ground of the Yuda family. Miruta is having a fierce duel with Noriki. The two did not use ninjutsu, but only used physical skills to fight. However, even though they only used physical skills, there was still a gap between Noriki and Ganta. Ganta's physical fitness continued to improve because he had been irradiated by Yushin with mysterious beads for a long time. In addition, his chakra control was much stronger than Noriki's last year. With the improvement of physical fitness and good chakra control, Ganta's reaction speed was also faster than Noriki's. He easily saw through and dodged all of Noriki's attacks. Pa. Ganta punched Naoki's abdomen with a heavy punch. Seeing that Naoki couldn't dodge in time, he quickly opened his 5 fingers, changed his fist into a palm, and slapped Naoki's chest. Deng deng deng. Naoki was slapped by Ganta, and retreated 7 or 8 steps, and fell on his buttocks. He was sweating and panting, and sat on the grass without getting up. It was obvious that the fight between the two had lasted for quite a long time. Okay, this time Miruta won. Both sides made a seal of reconciliation. Yushin, who was acting as a referee on the side, saw Naoki fall to the ground, and immediately announced the result. Oh, Big Brother is awesome. Yuto, who was beside Yuta, cheered when he saw Miruta defeat Naoki. Jiro, who was standing by, stared at Naoki solemnly, thinking Naoki's progress was too fast. He was indeed the direct descendant of the Senju clan. Could it be that a person's bloodline really determines a person's destination? Well, the 4 of you have all learned from each other, and you must have a clear understanding of your own strengths. So from now on, until the end of today's training, you can talk to each other and see what else you need to improve. Naoki had never thought that Yuta's voice was so beautiful. Oh. Finally, we don't have to run around that damn training ground today. Naoki jumped up from the ground, hugged Miruta's shoulders, and jumped for joy. It was not easy. Every time they ran a lap, Yuta would set obstacles for them in all kinds of strange ways, and Naoki and Miruta were always the most hit. Although they have learned their lesson recently, it is not pleasant to feel the ecstasy when they are hit occasionally. Jiro and Yuto didn't have too many ideas. After hearing that they didn't have to run laps today, they sat directly on the stone bench beside them. When they saw that Yushin had walked away, they began to lean on the bench in a daze. Yushin returned to the house and saw that Kiko had already got off work and was teasing Shingo there. How is it? Are you busy with work recently? Yushin sat down on the sofa, picked up her little cotton padded jacket, and asked Kiko while teasing her daughter. The 2 nannies were preparing dinner for them at this time, so they were not in the house at this time, so that they chatted more casually. After hearing Yushin's question, Kiko rolled her eyes at Yushin in annoyance. Do you think everyone is like you, going home like a big boss, doing nothing all day, and just coaxing the children at home? Isn't it because Sunday is worried about me? What can I do? I also want to go out for a walk, but Sunday doesn't give me any tasks. Yushin was depressed after hearing Kiko's words. Ever since Mito looked for Yuda last time, the Sunday seemed to be afraid that he would have an excuse to leave the village, and never assigned him a mission to leave the village. Even if someone pointed out that this mission could only be taken by Yuda, the Sunday would eventually give the mission to Hatake Tsukumo to do it, just not giving Yuda an excuse to leave the village. In fact, Yuda wanted to tell the Sunday that he didn't have to do that. He was self-aware. Seeing her husband's sad face, Kiko couldn't help but laugh. But then he thought of the recent situation in the hospital and frowned. Recently, there are more and more wounded in the hospital. Most of them are sent back from the border of the Rain Country. It seems that our conflict with the Rain Country is getting more and more serious. Hearing Kiko's words, Yuda said nonchalantly, this is just the beginning. The Wind Country is not peaceful either. There are not so many wounded sent back because Tsunade is there. It seems that everyone is almost unable to hold on. Seeing Yuda happily teasing his daughter, Kiko couldn't help but calm down when she saw how calm he was. Yes, with her husband here, what else should she worry about? I may have to go out recently, so you should be careful at home. Yuda suddenly turned his head and said to Kiko, why? Didn't the Sandike say that he was worried about you going out? Kiko looked over after hearing what Yuda said. When Naoki came this afternoon, he told me that Mito-sama went to Sandike's office. Yuda didn't need to say anything more. Kiko immediately understood why Yuda said he was going out. Now that Mito has gone to find Sandike, Sandike will never sit idly by and watch the land of whirlpools. So now the village can't find anyone else except Yuda, and Sandike will definitely let him lead the team. As for manpower, doesn't the Senju clan still have dozens of ninjas? As expected, the next day, when Yuda was about to go to the training ground to see the training of his 3 sons, he was stopped by an Anbu. Yuda Jonin, please go to the Hokage's office immediately. Hokage-sama has something to tell you. After saying that, he disappeared. When Yuda entered the Hokage's office, he saw the third Hokage and Mito sitting on the main seats, with 3 rows of ninjas standing below, a total of 15 people. From the hair color and body shape, Yuda could tell that at least 10 of them were members of the Senju clan. After all, the burly figure and long black straight hair are not something that ordinary people can have. Seeing this posture, Yuda knew that the third Hokage had been convinced by Mito. Seeing Yuda coming in, the third Hokage said in a deep voice, "Yuda, the situation in the Whirlpool country is urgent now, and it may be destroyed at any time. They have sent us a letter for help before, but the village has not been able to spare any manpower. But as an ally, we can't ignore it, so this time we send you to see what their plan is. Try to help if you can. Okay, you all go down and prepare first. Set off immediately after you are ready." As soon as the third Hokage finished speaking, the ninjas except Mito disappeared in the office in an instant. Asking for support. Chapter 34 Arrival at the Whirlpool country. Looking at Yuta, who was packing up his equipment and preparing to set off, Zizi couldn't help but feel a little worried. This mission was different from the previous ones. Yuta and his team were going to face most of the forces in the entire ninja world, and Konoha only sent a standard brigade to support them. Even if her husband had 3 heads and 6 arms, he couldn't deal with so many enemies. Yuda, who had packed his equipment and was ready to set off, saw Kiko's worried face and stepped forward to comfort her. "Don't worry, this mission is not a head-on confrontation with those forces. This time we go to the Whirlpool country, maybe an escort mission." Hearing Yuda's words, Kiko became confused. "Escort? Didn't I ask you to support the Whirlpool country?" Yuda held Kiko's shoulders and said with a relaxed look, "Do you think the third generation and others are fools to send such a small number of people to the Whirlpool country to die? Our main purpose this time is to pick up a few members of the Uzumaki clan from the Whirlpool country." Yuda lowered his head and thought for a while, then said a little sadly, "After all, Lord Mito is too old." Kiko was not stupid, so she naturally understood what Yuda meant. That is, this time Yuda and his team were mainly to protect the safety of the next Jinchuriki. Hearing that Yuda and his team were not going to fight those forces that were eyeing the Uzumaki clan, Kiko felt relieved. Seeing that Zizi had put aside her worries about herself, Yushin solemnly warned her, "I may be away for a longer time this time, so you should be careful at home. In particular, you should warn Miruta and others not to mention their bloodline boundaries in front of outsiders easily. I'm worried that the third generation will make plans for them." "Yes, I know it in my heart," Zizi also said solemnly. She also knew that the Konoha high-level officials were spying on the bloodline boundaries. Although she was not very clear, she occasionally heard Tsunade complain that the third generation and others did not do anything with the corpse of the first generation. If they knew that her husband had become the first generation of bloodline boundary holders and could pass on the bloodline to their offspring stably, they would definitely make plans for their own family. "Okay, I'll leave. After all, no one knows when those forces will take action." Seeing that Zizi also understood the importance of this matter, Yushin let go of her shoulders and turned to leave. 3 days later, in order to reach the land of whirlpools as soon as possible, Yushin and his party were on the road except for going to the toilet, eating and resting. They traveled at a very fast speed for 3 consecutive days, and their speed far exceeded the normal speed of ordinary ninjas. After passing through the last forest, the endless ocean appeared before them. In the early morning, a red sun jumped out from the sea level, coating the entire island with a layer of bright red halo. Several ninjas from the Whirlpool country came to the shore early in the morning, including the chief of the Whirlpool clan. Suddenly, someone pointed at the sea and shouted, "It's a ship from the Fire country, with the flag of Konoha on it. People from Konoha are coming." On the calm sea, a medium-sized ship sailed at a constant speed, with the sails slightly bulging. The wind was not very strong now, but fortunately, even if there was no wind, the ship still had propellers to propel it. The snow-white waves were divided, leaving a trace of surging waves behind the big ship. In addition to the sailors, there were also ninjas wearing Konoha forehead protectors on the ship. In order to support the Whirlpool country this time, Mito sent most of the senior ninjas of the Senju clan out. "Captain, you can see the island of the Whirlpool country." As the captain of this mission, Yuta naturally had a separate room. At this time, a ninja from the Senju clan stood outside the cabin door and reported quietly. The cabin was very small. Yuta was checking the intelligence he had recently collected from the Whirlpool country. Hearing the voice outside the door, he stood up and said, "Give orders, everyone prepare to land." The ninja outside the door responded and left. Soon, in less than half a minute, all the well-trained ninjas gathered on the deck, scaring the sailors away. Yuta stood at the bow, looking at the escort team under his command, and sighed in his heart. It seemed that the situation was worse than imagined. As soon as the Whirlpool country received the news of the Konoha people, it could not wait to urge Konoha to send people over quickly. If it were not for Mito's urging, and Konoha's impossibility to give up the next Jinchuriki, then this time Konoha might really have to watch the Whirlpool country fall. His arrival also brought great changes to the world. If it weren't for the 3-character classic created by Shan, which made the prestige of the daimyos of various countries greater than before, the various ninja villages would not have tried every means to enhance their own strength in order to prevent the daimyos from manipulating public opinion, and they would not have set their sights on the Uzumaki clan so quickly. I won't say more about this mission. I'll just emphasize one point. Remember, this is an escort mission. We should send as many people as possible. Yushin began to give a speech before the action. His narrow eyes showed an extremely confident light. Of course, we will return after picking up the people. It is very likely that we will not encounter the enemy, but don't be careless. No one knows when the enemy will attack the land of whirlpools. We must be extremely vigilant and don't lose our lives in such a place. Yes, Captain. The island kept getting bigger in his eyes, and he could clearly see the figures standing on the beach. The red hair showed their identity as the Uzumaki clan, but they are all women and children. It seems that they have made plans to perish together. After Yushin saw the situation of the group of people in front of the ancestral hall, he also understood the plan of the Uzumaki clan. I'm a Konoha ninja, Yushin. This time, I come to visit the Uzumaki clan on the orders of the 3rd Hokage and the instructions of Lord Mito. In the ancestral hall, when the two sides met, Yushin introduced them first, with a gentle smile on his face. I'm the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan. It is an honor to meet the Silver Fox of Konoha. The patriarch laughed and extended his hand to invite Yuta to take a seat, but his heart was far less relaxed than he looked. The Silver Fox of Konoha is the most famous ninja today. Apart from the cage of the major ninja villages and the demigod of the Hidden Rain village, the 2 stars of Konoha are the most famous and are one of the top ranks in the ninja world. Don't underestimate them just because they are friendly. People with squinty eyes are more terrifying when they get angry, and his sister Mito is like that. The patriarch felt mixed emotions. He was sad that the Uzumaki clan had fallen into such a precarious situation, but he was happy that it was the Silver Fox of Konoha who came, showing the sincerity of the 3rd Hokage. At the same time, he heard him mention his sister just now, so he thought that the relationship between the two families must be pretty good. With his sister protecting them, at least the members of their Uzumaki clan should not be bullied when they go to Konoha village. Patriarch, you are too kind. Yuta bowed slightly to show his respect for the patriarch. Seeking support. Chapter 35 Water Shadow Attack. A small shop in the land of whirlpools. Are you sure that Konoha sent someone? Yes, the leader is the Konoha Silver Fox, one of the twin stars of Konoha. Damn it, haven't the wind country and the rain country put a lot of pressure on Konoha? How can they still send people to support the land of whirlpools? I don't know about this. How about we report it to Lord Drakeage? We alone may not be the opponent of the Konoha Silver Fox. Okay, I will report it to Lord Drakeage right away. You continue to keep an eye on the situation in the Hidden Whirlpool village, and report to me immediately if there is any unusual movement from Konoha. Yes. Just after Yuta and his team arrived in the land of whirlpools, spies from all forces also received the news as soon as possible. Damn it. Konoha is really planning to start the Second Ninja World War? Do you really think I'm afraid of him? Dode, prepare the troops for me immediately. I want to meet this Konoha Silver Fox in person. After receiving the information from his subordinates, the Raikage angrily slammed the information on the table. If Konoha still had the 1st or 2nd generation as Hokage, he would still be a little afraid. What is the third generation of Konoha, Sarutobi Hiruzen? He is just a politician who shows off his literary talent. He dares to go against them. If he hadn't come up with the 3-character classic, would they have been so anxious to attack the Uzumaki clan? They haven't caused trouble for Konoha yet, but Konoha has caused trouble for them first. At the beginning, the 3-character classic can indeed enhance the reputation of the kage of each village, but as time goes by, the reputation of the daimyo of each country quickly surpasses that of the kage of each ninja village with a huge population base. In order to prevent the daimyo from tearing up the agreement of one country and one village, they can only set their sights on their own tailed beasts. But at present, except for Mito, there is no perfect Jinchuriki in the ninja world. So this time, the villages are targeting the Whirlpool country for self-protection. Otherwise they will be swept up by the daimyo's huge public opinion, and completely become the daimyo's thugs. Lord Drakeage, I'm afraid there is something strange about this matter. Don't get angry first, let's see what Konoha will do next. At this time, Tsuchida saw that his own Raikage was going to go to the Whirlpool country in person, and immediately stepped forward to dissuade him. If the Raikage did this, there would be no need to wait so long before the Second Ninja World War broke out. You know, the Land of Earth has always been eyeing the Land of Lightning. If everyone was not afraid of each other now, the Rock Ninja would have already started a war with them. If the Raikage left with a large number of troops now, the Rock Ninja would definitely take advantage of the situation. What's there to see? Didn't the Konoha Silver Fox bring people to support? The Raikage was more willing to listen to Tsuchida's words. He sat back and waited to see what he said. The current situation in the ninja world is that Hanzo of the Rain country is dissatisfied with the status of his country and has been provoking Konoha, and the Wind country can no longer suppress the domestic conflicts and needs to divert domestic conflicts to the outside world, so they have also stationed troops on the border of the Fire country recently. Konoha is now under attack from both sides and will definitely not send a large number of people to support the Whirlpool country. What does the Konoha Silver Fox say? The Raikage still did not give up. Don't forget how old the wife of the first Hokage is. Konoha also needs to make plans for the next Jinchuriki. Tsuchida said mysteriously. HMPH. Konoha is really full of villains. They didn't save their allies and wanted to take advantage of the situation. Should we cause them some trouble? Seeing that he couldn't have a good fight this time, the Raikage started to complain about Konoha's character again. In the end, he still wanted to cause some trouble to Konoha. Dode shook his head and said calmly, someone will be more anxious than us. Mizukage. The Raikage immediately realized and laughed out loud. Then let's see how this Mizukage will deal with this matter. The Land of Earth, Rock Village. Anoki was disappointed to see that the Raikage didn't send troops to the Land of Whirlpools this time. Then he planned to wait and see how the Mizukage would deal with this matter. The Land of Wind was too far away from the Land of Whirlpools. After receiving the news that Konoha began to send people to support the Land of Whirlpools, it almost withdrew its own people from the Land of Whirlpools. Anyway, they just wanted to try it out. In the end, Chiyo dissuaded him, thinking that doing so would easily make the Sand Village lose its credibility. Hanzo could not sit still. After receiving the news, he ignored the troops on the border and headed directly towards the Whirlpool country. This action represents the beginning of their own country ascending to the position of a great power. If they can join forces with other major ninja villages to destroy the Whirlpool country, then who dares to say that their own country is a small country in the future? On the way, he met the Mizukage, who was also rushing to the Whirlpool country in a hurry, so the two of them took the warship of the water country to the Whirlpool country together. Everyone knows the plan of the water country. This time they not only want to destroy the Whirlpool country and get the method of using the tailed beasts, and they also want to completely occupy the Whirlpool country and use it as a springboard for the water country to attack the mainland today. So after hearing the report from his men, the Mizukage hurriedly led his men to the Whirlpool country. After seeing Hanzo, who was also rushing to the Whirlpool country, the Mizukage took him along to reduce his own losses. Yushin and his team had planned to leave immediately after receiving the people, but they didn't expect that the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan would take the group of clan members sent to Konoha with him in order to organize their inherited ninjutsu, which delayed them for another day. After Yushin and his team said goodbye to the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan, they saw a little girl about 3 years old in the crowd. This was the granddaughter of the patriarch, the future second nine-tailed Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina. But now she was sent to Konoha in advance, and I don't know if her future will be changed. There were more than 40 Uzumaki clan members who followed Yushin and his team to Konoha this time, among whom there was only one adult man, and he had a broken arm, which shows the bloodiness of the Uzumaki clan. As long as they could fight, they chose to stay. It was only after repeated persuasion from the clan members that the man agreed to go to Konoha with them, so that he could take care of the clan members in the future. After Yushin and his team boarded the ship, they slowly sailed away from the port. Just when Yushin was about to comfort the clan members of the Uzumaki clan, several warships broke into Yushin's perception. Return immediately. Quick. Return to the land of whirlpools. Enemies are approaching. Yuda shouted to the sailors. Captain, where are the enemies coming from? Asked a ninja. He was not from the Senju clan, but one of the 5 ninjas sent by the 3rd Hokage. 4 warships on the sea. They are warships from the land of water. At this time, someone on the ship also saw the black spots on the sea, picked up a telescope, and took a look, and immediately shouted. The people on the ship immediately controlled the ship to return to the land of whirlpools. They were not crazy enough to fight a water battle with the mist ninja on the sea. The people on the shore also discovered the situation here at this time, and the Uzumaki clan leader immediately organized everyone to prepare to meet the enemy. To celebrate the collection exceeding 1000, an additional chapter. Chapter 36, The Chaotic Ninja World. What? Mizuki and Hanzo went to Whirlpool Country. In the Hokage's office, the 3rd Hokage asked in surprise after hearing the report from his subordinates. Yes. Through our intelligence, we learned that, since we sent people to Whirlpool Country, the Mizuki thought we were going to support Whirlpool Country, so he planned to take the initiative before we sent a large number of support. As for why Hanzo went back, I'm sorry that I'm incompetent and haven't found out the reason yet. Are Mizuki and Hanzo crazy? How stupid must they be to believe that we Konoha still have the strength to support Whirlpool Country? We are just going to pick up someone. Do they need to be so excited? If they move, the ninja world will be in chaos. The 3rd Hokage was almost crying because of the stupidity of Mizuki and Hanzo. If he moved, the sand ninja would not have to worry about the mist ninja attacking their coastline. Then, could the sand ninja, who had freed up his hands, let go of the rain country without Hanzo at this time? Quickly notify the advisory elders to come here for a meeting, and immediately send out an emergency signal. The war is coming. The 3rd Hokage ordered immediately. Sir, the troops have all been transferred. A Chunin appeared, knelt on one knee, and reported to Ibizo who had spoken. Ibizo stood with his hands behind his back and said slowly, tell them to be careful not to alarm the spies of the rain country. After the troops are assembled, immediately launch an attack on the rain country. Yes. The Chunin responded, and immediately went to convey the order. Ibizo sighed secretly. This time, in order to paralyze Hanzo, he mobilized a lot of troops near the border of the fire country. But then these troops will be replaced by civilians in charge of logistics, and the real troops will change their clothes and quietly go to the border of the rain country to gather. When he heard that Hanzo suddenly left the rain country yesterday, Ibizo felt that the opportunity had come, and then he accelerated the speed of assembling the troops, and now they are finally about to be assembled. At this moment, another ninja flashed to the ground and said, report to the Lord, the latest information from the Whirlpool country. Ibizo raised his eyebrows slightly, and after taking a look at the information handed over by the ninja, he said in surprise, Hanzo actually mixed up with the Mizuki. You go and stop the troops withdrawing from the seaside, and notify them when you find them. There is no need to return to the village, just come directly to the rain country camp to join the support troops. Yes. The ninja responded and disappeared quickly. While the sand ninja was urgently mobilizing troops, the cloud ninja was not idle either. Hokage, there is an unusual movement in the cloud village in the lightning country. A large number of ninja troops are approaching the soup country and will arrive at the border of our fire country soon. In the Hokage's office, the 3rd Hokage was sitting at the desk processing documents. A masked Anbu suddenly appeared in the room, kneeling on one knee to report to Sarutobi Hiruzen. The Enbu's report made the third Hokage fall into silence. He needed some time to digest the news and respond. However, the third generation immediately understood the intention of the Cloud Ninja. The Cloud Ninja obviously guessed that the move of the Mizukage and Hanzo would mean that the Wind Country would go to war with the Rain Country. They were afraid that Konoha would mobilize troops from the border to support the Whirlpool Country, so they could only send troops to put pressure on Konoha. These shadows of the big ninja villages are really not easy to deal with. The third generation held a pipe and pondered for a moment and immediately convened a high-level meeting to discuss the matter of the Cloud Ninja invading the Hot Spring Country. Anoki was also confused by the sudden situation in the ninja world and immediately assembled troops to go to the border between the Lightning Country and the Rain Country for alert. At the same time, people were sent to station at the old site of the Kusagakure village to prevent others from taking a detour and stealing their homes. The Mizukage and Hanzo didn't know how much impact their move had on the ninja world. Here they come. The Uzumaki clan leader put down the telescope in his hand, clenched his left hand tightly, and said seriously, "The Mizukage is here." He sighed in his heart. The war had finally begun, and their ally, Konoha, had more than a dozen people. Although they are all elites, it is unknown how much they can do. "Are they here?" Yuta turned around and asked, "Are you ready?" The Uzumaki chief nodded and said, "All those who are not capable of fighting have been sent to the shelter. Now those who can fight are here. I will deal with Hanzo later. Who of you can hold back the Mizukage?" Yuta pondered for a moment and said, "Only by holding back the Mizukage and Hanzo can we win. I will try to join forces with the Great Elder. It should be able to hold them off for a while, but we are all old, so we can't get away for long." The Uzumaki chief said with some embarrassment. "That's enough. After I deal with Hanzo, I will support you. The ninjas I brought to guard the shelter will also join the battle with 10 people." Yuta's narrowed eyes revealed a terrifying gleam. Originally, he didn't want to reveal his strength so early, but the current situation was beyond his control. If he didn't try his best, he might end up here today. Mizukage. Hanzo saw the Uzumaki clan ninjas waiting on the shore. "Can we take action now? We should fight as quickly as possible. I always feel uneasy in my heart." "Then take action. I also want to see how magnanimous the Konoha Silver Fox is." After hearing what the Mizukage said, Hanzo jumped directly onto the bow and quickly formed seals with both hands. Water style, great waterfall technique. The calm sea surface instantly boiled, and a wave quickly formed under the entanglement of water splashes, and then it instantly surged into a huge wave stretching for 10 kilometers, rushing towards the coast of the Whirlpool Country. Mr. Hanzo's strength is too amazing. No wonder he is called a demigod. The power of this water style is the only one I have ever seen in my life. The third Mizukage saw the power of Hanzo's ninjutsu and praised it. "Mr. Mizukage, you are too kind. I will go meet this Konoha Silver Fox now." "Please wait for a moment, Mr. Mizukage." Looking at the confident Hanzo, the Mizukage was unwilling to fall behind. He jumped off the boat and rushed towards the land of whirlpools on the water. What kind of monster is this? Looking at the overwhelming waves, the people of the Uzumaki clan showed despair. It was really different from the battle they imagined. When everyone usually fights, they throw a few kunai at each other. If none of them hit, then they chop each other with kunai a few times, and finally use a ninjutsu to end it. Who has ever seen a huge wave that stretches for several kilometers right at the beginning? Someone really has seen it. I saw Yushin put his hands together. Earth escape Yudu city. The land in front of everyone quickly rose and turned into a wall that was 10 feet high, 2 meters thick, and stretched for more than 10 kilometers. Boom. The violent collision of the waves and the stone wall stirred up a huge mist, which turned into a gorgeous rainbow under the refraction of the sun. "Please support me. I have a headache these 2 days and I have eaten all the manuscripts." Chapter 37. Fighting Hanzo. "Oh, I'm saved. That's great. Even if I die, at least I have to kill an enemy first." I finally didn't die in vain. As expected of the Konoha Silver Fox, one of the twin stars of Konoha. He's as strong as a monster. Someone said the most unpleasant words in the most respectful tone. Yushin couldn't help but twitch his mouth after hearing it. "If you can't speak, don't speak." Yushin instantly jumped onto the wall and stared at Hanzo, who was rushing towards this side. How is it? Are you sure? The Uzumaki clan leader and the Great Elder also appeared beside Yushin, staring at the Mizukichi who was a little behind Hanzo. Try your best. Who would have thought that you would have to fight an enemy like the Mizukichi before you die? The Great Elder's old tone revealed a sense of determination. After hearing the Great Elder's words, Yushin turned his head and said, "That may disappoint you. You can't die. Just delay for half an hour. Don't fight hard." After that, he disappeared directly on the wall. So fast. Sensing Yushin's moving speed, the pupils of the salamander Hanzo shrank slightly. In less than 10 seconds, the opponent appeared in his sight. He looked up and saw a figure standing on the sea in front of him, squinting his eyes and looking at him. The figure was holding a small sword, and it could be vaguely judged that the other party was not very old, but the chakra was almost as good as his. Silver Fox of Konoha. I admit that I underestimated you. Salamander Hanzo looked at Yushin coldly. The huge earth escape ninjutsu just now, even the dumbest person could guess that it was released by the young man in front of him, so it can be seen that the Silver Fox of Konoha is indeed worthy of its reputation. But in the next moment, his face suddenly changed, and he saw a ray of silver light passing from the opposite side, like a cold light that cut through the void. Can't keep up with the opponent's speed? Swish. Yushin's figure passed by, met Hanzo, and landed behind Hanzo. Too much nonsense. Yushin kept the posture of swinging the sword, and glanced at Hanzo behind him. Hanzo also kept rushing forward. What a fast sword! Hanzo exclaimed. Ice release, ice fall. The third Mizukichi who was following Hanzo saw Yushin kill Hanzo in one move, and launched a sneak attack. A cold current swept across the sea. Crack. Crack. The originally rippling sea surface quickly turned into a glacier stretching for 10 kilometers. The mist ninjas who had a foothold jumped off the boat one after another, bypassing the battlefield between Yushin and the Mizukichi, and rushed towards the city wall on the shore. Splash. Hanzo, whose body was cut in half, still had a trace of strange color in his eyes, and then the whole person splashed and turned into a stream of water, and it turned out to be a water clone. And at the next moment, the glacier under Yushin's feet suddenly surged like a quagmire, turning into a piece of detonating talisman, sticking to Yushin's feet, and wrapping all the way. Explode. Salamander Hanzo appeared beside the Mizukichi not far away, forming a seal with one hand, and spoke coldly, with a cold light flashing in his eyes. With a roar, Yushin, who was entangled by the detonation tag, was instantly submerged by the explosion. Is it just this extent? Looking at this scene, Hanzo of the salamander narrowed his eyes. In his perception, there was no other chakra of the same kind coming, which means that it was indeed the main body that suffered the explosion. Quickly, before the smoke of the explosion dissipated, the Mizukichi suddenly shouted. Looking at the Mizukichi who retreated with the ice instant, Hanzo did not hesitate, and his figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. Swish. Another silver light flashed, and Yushin appeared where Hanzo had just stood. It seems that, as long as you stand on the ice, you can't escape the perception of the Mizukichi. Yushin thought about it in his heart. He saw him put the katana back to his waist, put his hands together, earth escape, earth, and land return. Crack. Crack. The coastline began to break in front of the city wall, and then stood up directly, pressing directly towards the glacier like a fly swatter. The mist ninja who was speeding on the glacier was in bad luck, and countless people were killed and injured in an instant. This is the strength of Konoha's Silver Fox. A Uzumaki ninja standing on the city wall ready to meet the enemy opened his mouth wide and looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Too awesome. Master Yuda did a great job. Yeah. A little mist ninja dared to set his sights on our whirlpool country. Now you see how powerful it is. A Uzumaki kid who was just over 10 years old also said proudly, obviously ignoring that Yuda was a ninja from Konoha. The others looked at the proud kid and fell silent instantly. If it wasn't for a last resort, who would want these kids to go to the battlefield? This is fair now. Yuda squinted and stared at the Mizukichi and Hanzo not far away, as if he had done something insignificant. Looking at the battlefield that had changed drastically, the Mizukichi showed a solemn expression for the first time. Swish. Swish. The Uzumaki clan leader and the Great Elder also appeared behind Yuda at this time. Leave the Mizukichi to the two of us, and Hanzo will be in Yuda's hands. After the Uzumaki clan leader finished speaking, he rushed directly towards the Mizukage, and the 8 chakra chains that appeared behind him danced behind him. After seeing this, the Great Elder sighed and said to Yuda, "If this is really the case, I'll ask Yuda to take care of the remaining clan members." Looking at the 2 elders who resolutely rushed towards the Mizukage, Yuda did not intend to hide his strength. The current Hanzo was not the Hanzo who would team up with Danzo to deal with Akatsuki 20 years later. His body, physical skills, swordsmanship, and ninjutsu were all at their peak. A few years later, he beat up Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, and finally pretended to be strong, and gave the defeated 3 the title of 3 ninjas of Konoha. This was probably the greatest shame of the 3 people in their lives. Looking at Yuda who drew out the katana not far away, Hanzo's expression became solemn, and his hands quickly formed seals. Judging from the hand gestures, it was a water-style, water dragon bullet. However, the seal was formed instantly, but the iconic dragon-shaped water column did not appear beside Hanzo, but the originally broken glacier made a creaking sound, and began to break continuously. Hanzo did not stop after making hand seals, and immediately began to make hand seals again. This time it was also a water dragon bullet. It was not that Hanzo did not want to use low-level ninjutsu, or to end the battle directly with a water dragon bullet, but the opponent Yushin's strength was probably not inferior to his own. If it was just a low-level ninjutsu, it would only waste his chakra. Yushin would not wait for Hanzo to launch a ninjutsu before attacking. He was seen flashing, and appeared not far from Hanzo in an instant. He could kill Hanzo here in the next moment. Hanzo seemed not to see Yushin, but just kept making hand seals quickly. Suddenly, Hanzo paused, and his expression became more ferocious. The sea water instantly swept behind Hanzo, forming a huge horizontal tornado with Hanzo as the center. The huge waves instantly broke through the ice layer. Hanzo was like a sea god. The huge waves and wind and rain were like his arms and fingers, and quickly formed a giant water dragon. Then 1 turned into 2, and 2 turned into 3. In just a moment, the sky was full of water dragons. I have a headache. I asked for leave to go to the hospital. I ate the manuscript. If there are any mistakes, please forgive me. Point them out, and I will correct them after I come back from the hospital. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 38 Hanzo, Defeat. Yuta looked at the overwhelming water dragons rushing towards him, and retreated with his knife. After pulling away for a distance, Earth-style, earth flow wall. A wall of earth rose from the surface of the glacier to protect Yuta behind him. Hanzo looked at the fragile earth wall with a sneer on his face. I thought the silver fox of Konoha was so great, but now it seems that it is just a name in vain. I underestimated the enemy. Then I will die here today. Boom. The dense water dragons hit the earth wall protecting Yuta. The water mist produced by the collision between the water dragons and the earth flow wall enveloped the entire battlefield and blocked the view. When the water mist dissipated, Hanzo was shocked to see the earth wall that was dilapidated but still standing. How could it be? I didn't expect that there was someone in Konoha who had such a high level of earth style. Looking at the gap whose color was obviously different from the color of ordinary earth style, Hanzo instantly understood the reason. This was the color that could only be produced by the extreme nature change of earth attribute chakra. No wonder it could withstand such a powerful ninjutsu. He gave a heartfelt exclamation. Not good. Hanzo's heart moved, and he swung his sickle behind him. Ding. Yushin used his scabbard to block Hanzo's sickle steadily, and then turned into a cloud of smoke. Shadow clone. Not good. Summoning technique. Hanzo immediately made a seal and summoned his summoned beast, the salamander. Seeing Hanzo summon his summoned beast, Yushin's face became more solemn when he was about to attack again. This is the complete form of the ninja world demigod, which means that Hanzo does not intend to drag it out. Yushin also has this intention. After all, the Uzumaki clan leader and the great elder are too old, and it is easy to have problems if it takes a long time. Although he cannot expose his magnetic escape now, this is also his own fault. Don't forget that Yushin has fought with the Daimyo's men in the past. Yushin in normal state can also make a quick decision. The salamander sprayed a large amount of poisonous fog, instantly covering Yushin's body. Hanzo stood on the salamander and looked at the area covered by the poisonous fog to the downwind. Suddenly, Hanzo's mind moved, and he swung the sickle behind him. Dang. Hanzo blocked the slash of Yushin's sword. As expected of a demigod, it's really good. Yushin praised. Hanzo frowned. You really like to attack from behind, kid. Yushin smiled. Same here. Don't you like to use poison too? Dang dang dang. Yushin quickly swung the small sword and fought with Hanzo on the salamander. You were in the poisonous fog just now. It's impossible that you didn't inhale any poison gas, right? You won't last long, Hanzo said while parrying Yushin's attack. Yushin sneered. Don't worry, I will chop off your head before that. Yushin's body has been transformed for more than 10 years, and his strength, speed, and reaction are much stronger than Hanzo's. Gradually, Hanzo couldn't hold on, and the hand holding the sickle began to tremble. What's wrong with this kid? How can he have such a strong physical fitness? Hanzo was anxious. He planned to force Yushin off the salamander first, and then join forces with the salamander to deal with Yushin. After all, Yushin's physical fitness was too strong, and his swordsmanship was not worse than his own. If they were in close combat, he would be no match for him. Before he could make the next move, he suddenly saw Yushin revealing a dangerous smile, and his heart couldn't help but shudder. Suddenly, Yushin held the knife with one hand to resist Hanzo's sickle, and raised the index and middle fingers of the other hand. Wind style, vacuum ball. An air cannon rushed directly towards Hanzo's face. Close range output. Who has ever seen someone like Yushin suddenly perform ninjutsu in close combat? Hanzo was caught off guard and was hit directly. Before he could catch his breath, Yushin's speed increased rapidly again, and he slashed at Hanzo's neck with a knife. Hanzo was forced to jump back a few times, and he jumped off the back of the salamander first. Hanzo stared at Yuda, who was smiling on the back of the salamander, with a murderous look. Little brat. You are too happy too early. Suddenly, the salamander quickly dived under the glacier. I have been prepared for this trick of yours. Yuda, who had read the original novel, knew that once the salamander had only the enemy left on its back, it would dive down and force the enemy on its back down. But there is no time to waste now, so please be quiet for a while, Yuda said to the salamander under him. Yuda put his hands together, then opened his right palm, sealing technique for symbol seal. Yuda personally used the 4-symbol seal, and the curse seal spread from the top of the salamander's head in an instant, and quickly covered the salamander's body following Yuda's guidance. Asshole, what did you do to Ibushi? Yuda's movements were slow to say, but in fact he completed the seal on the salamander in an instant. Looking at the salamander covered with cursed seals, which was now limp on the ground with all its body powerless, Hanzo became anxious instantly. This guy is too much of a nuisance, so let him be quiet. Yushin smiled, but in his heart he was thinking, should I also find a summoned beast? Otherwise, it will be too much trouble to deal with such a huge opponent in the future, and this kind of enemy is 2 against 1. Seeing Yushin's indifferent expression, Hanzo thought that his summoned beast had been destroyed, and he was instantly furious. Then you will also be buried with Ibushi, Zaro. Before he finished speaking, a strong wind hit his face, and a long sword chopped down from the top of his head. The huge pressure made Hanzo swallow back what he had not finished. Dang. Crack. 2 completely different sounds were made almost at the same time. It turned out that Hanzo used a sickle to block Yushin's small long sword, but the opponent's huge arm strength pressed down hard, and the glacier under his feet directly cracked. I told you that you talk too much nonsense. Crack. There was a muffled sound, and the powder of the ice cube rose under Hanzo's feet. It turned out that Hanzo was suppressed by Yushin's huge power, and half of his calf was inserted into the glacier. This collision made Hanzo think that his legs were broken. But a high-speed rotating chakra ball suddenly appeared in Yushin's other hand, and the wind escape attached to it rotated rapidly, cutting the surrounding air. Hanzo was struggling to resist the katana above his head, and before he could react, Yushin imprinted the chakra ball on his abdomen. After taking a direct blow from Yushin's Rasengan, Hanzo could no longer hold on. Boom. The huge power directly blasted Hanzo off the ice surface, flying more than 10 meters in the air before falling to the ground and rolling several times. Looking at Hanzo lying motionless in the valley on the ice surface, Yushin sensed his situation. In his perception, Hanzo's abdominal meridians had been broken into several sections at this time. Although it could be restored later, it would take a long time. Seeing that Hanzo had completely lost his fighting power, Yushin quickly walked up to him. Hanzo was still conscious at this time, staring at Yushin with wide eyes unwillingly. "Kid, you won. Kill me." He hated it. "I hate this brat for not following martial ethics, cheating and attacking an old man like him, who would suddenly use a ninjutsu to hit you in the face when fighting with you in physical skills. Today, this brat not only did it twice." Yushin ignored him, opened his right hand, and pressed directly on his abdomen, sealing technique 5-element seal. After Hanzo saw Yushin's action, he knew that he was going to capture him alive, but at this time he didn't even have the strength to commit suicide, and he was directly fainted from anger. Ha! Finally solved one. Yushin looked at the fainted Hanzo, turned his head, and looked at the battlefield over there where the Uzumaki clan leader was. "I had a headache the past 2 days, and I didn't check it carefully when posting it, so it is inevitable that there are omissions. Please forgive me, I will correct it tomorrow. At the same time, thank you all for your support." Chapter 39. World War II breaks out early. After Yushin dealt with Hanzo, he saw that the situation of the Uzumaki clan leader and the Great Elder was already precarious. They were covered in blood, and were struggling to resist the attack of the Mizuki. Due to their physical exhaustion, they could only defend themselves. "It seems that we will die here today." The Great Elder seemed to have made up his mind, and planned to burn his vitality, to buy some time for Yushin. After hearing this, the Uzumaki clan leader also smiled freely. "That's perfect, I can have a companion on the road. I won't give you a chance to counterattack before you die." The Mizuki also saw the two's plan, but he still had a cold face and increased the intensity of his attack. "What?" The Mizuki, who was about to release a ninjutsu, heard a fierce sound, glanced at the place where the sound came from, and saw the scene of Hanzo being defeated by Yushin. "Waste, you call yourself a demigod, but you can't even deal with a little ghost." But he kept moving his hands, intending to get rid of these two old guys before Yushin came to support. The Uzumaki clan leader and the Great Elder also saw that Yushin had defeated Hanzo, and they were immediately inspired. They tried their best to resist the attack of the Mizuki, to buy time for Yushin to support them. However, due to their old age and weakness, they could not hold on after blocking a few attacks, and watched the water dragon rushing towards them. Earth escape, earth flow wall. Just when the Uzumaki clan leader and the Great Elder were desperate, a loud shout came from the side. "Fortunately, we made it. Thank you for your hard work, and leave the rest to me." Yushin finally arrived at the last moment, and glanced at the tired Uzumaki elders. He turned around, and stared coldly at the Mizuki not far away. Boom. The water dragon directly hit the earth wall, and scattered into water splashes, and fell on the ice. Seeing that his attack failed, the Mizuki was very upset. This was the best time to deal with the strongest fighting force of the Whirlpool country, but now it was ruined by Yushin. Looking at Yuda standing in front of the Uzumaki clan leader, the Mizuki was very unwilling. It seems that Konoha is determined to help the land of whirlpools. You know, this time many ninja villages are working together. Are you sure you want to intervene? Knowing that his strength might not be as good as Yuta, the Mizuki began to threaten. Yuta did not intend to fight the Mizuki to death at this time. He just couldn't watch Konoha's allies being eliminated by others under his nose. Seeing that the Mizuki did not intend to continue, Yuta also breathed a sigh of relief. Before he could say anything, a mist ninja Renbu suddenly appeared beside the Mizuki. "Lord Mizuki, there is news from the village that all the major ninja villages are now gathering troops, and their intentions are unclear. Master Yuanshi asked you to return to the village as soon as possible to prevent the Land of Water from being attacked by other ninja villages." The third Mizuki was not a fool, and he immediately figured out the whole story. It seems that this time it was hasty. Then he looked at Hanzo, who was captured in the distance, and the Mizuki was already planning to give up this action. The top priority now is to protect the safety of the Land of Water. Hey. It seems that something big has happened in the ninja world these days. All the major ninja villages have begun to gather their forces. Is the second ninja world war about to begin? The Mizukage was anxious, but after hearing the report from the Mist Ninja Ranbu, Yuta stared at the Mizukage with a smile and drew out the katana from his waist as if he wanted to drag the Mizukage here. Seeing that Yuta was going to continue fighting with him, the expression on the Mizukage's face could not be held back. He immediately said loudly, "Little boy, don't go too far. I admit defeat this time, but if you continue to pester me, at worst I will form an alliance with the Land of Earth after I return, and then it will be Konoha that will suffer." Hearing the threat of the Mizukage, Yuta remained calm. "If I drag you here, will the Cloud Ninja take the opportunity to invade your Land of Water? After all, the Land of Water without you is easier to deal with than Konoha. What do you want?" After hearing what Yuta said, the Mizukage had to admit that Yuta was right, and this was exactly what he was worried about, so he was the first to give in to Yuta. Yushin also knew that now was not the best time to deal with the Mizukage. Judging from the situation reported by the Mist Ninja just now, the ninja world was probably in chaos at this time. But he was unwilling to let the Mizukage leave just like that. Finally, Yushin thought for a while and said to the Mizukage, "I think the warships brought by the Mizukage do not have enough manpower to sail back. Why don't you leave a few for the younger generation?" The Mizukage glared at Yushin fiercely, saying that it was easy for you to say. These warships are the best warships of the water country, and they are also the important support for the water country to be invincible in the world in naval battles. If they are taken back by you Konoha, you can study them again. How can we fight Konoha in the future? Seeing the unhappy expression of the Mizukage, Yushin tightened the sword in his hand, as if he dared to keep the Mizukage here, as long as the Mizukage dared to refuse. After seeing Yushin's actions, the Mizukage thought about it in his heart. Now the most important thing is to return to the water country first, and the rest will be discussed later. Kid, you won. I'll leave you one of the 4 warships, and I'll take the others back. Hearing that the Mizukage reluctantly agreed to his request, Yuta also put the knife back into his waist and said with an embarrassed look, "Thank you very much for your generosity, Mizukage-sama. It just so happens that our ship was sunk by the battle just now." Looking at Yuta with a smile on his face, the Mizukage wanted to kick him in the face a few times. "Humph. Order the front attack troops to retreat and return to the Land of Water immediately." The Mizukage did not mention Hanzo at all, because in the current situation, Konoha would definitely use Hanzo to do something, and it would not be easy to let him go. Looking at the retreating subordinates, the Mizukage's face became more solemn. He glanced at the cheering Uzumaki clan ninjas on the city wall and sighed deeply. It seems that the soft persimmon of the land of Uzumaki is not easy to squeeze. What? Hanzo was captured by the Konoha Silver Fox. Great. Immediately order the troops to attack the Land of Rain. After hearing the news sent by his subordinates, Ibizo immediately issued an attack order. The second Shinobi World War broke out. Damn it. The Sand Ninjas actually attacked the Rain Country. And damn Hanzo, they are so useless that they were captured alive by a junior. Immediately order the troops stationed at the border of the Rain Country to attack the northwest of the Rain Country. After occupying it, defend it on the spot, and don't let Konoha take advantage of it. Anoki immediately issued an order after hearing the news. Damn it. The situation in the Rain Country is completely out of control now. What the hell is Sarutobi thinking? Send reinforcement here quickly. We have too few people here. We can't just watch the Sand Ninjas completely occupy the Rain Country, otherwise our Konoha's situation will be too passive. Danzo was also confused by the sudden war at this time, and immediately sent a letter for help to the village. Order the frontline troops to attack the Soup Country. Dode, what is the situation in the Water Country? Has the Mizukage returned? The third Raikage was also unambiguous and immediately ordered his troops to start fighting for territory. In addition, he also wanted to see the situation in the Water Country. If the Mizukage had not returned yet, he would not mind taking a bite out of the Water Country. Dode looked at the eager Raikage and said with some regret, the Mizukage had already returned to the Water Country yesterday evening. He is now mobilizing troops. I'm afraid he has already prepared defenses at the border. Is that so? It seems that the Water Country's response is still very fast. The Raikage was a little disappointed. Please collect, read, and invest. Chapter 40 Kushina's Surprise. When the Second Ninja World War began, Yuta was saying goodbye to the Uzumaki clan leader and his people. At this time, 3 days had passed since the Mizukage's attack, and everyone had been resting in the Uzumaki kingdom during these days. Looking at the huge battleship docked at the pier, the Uzumaki clan leader was amazed and felt deeply desperate. How could his own Uzumaki kingdom resist the water kingdom with such a huge ship? What's more, the next time the enemies of the Uzumaki kingdom will not only be the water kingdom, and other forces will not give up the Uzumaki kingdom's method of controlling the tailed beasts. This time, Yuta relied on his extraordinary strength to overcome the crisis. So what about the next time? The next time may be their last battle in the Uzumaki kingdom. After all, the Uzumaki clan members who were going to Konoha boarded the ship. Yuta looked at the old man in front of him who was full of worries, and persuaded him again. Clan leader Uzumaki, please don't think about it again. If you decide to move to Konoha collectively, I will definitely ensure that you are sent there safely. The clan leader Uzumaki smiled bitterly helplessly, and shook his head. Don't persuade me, Mr. Yuda. I'm ready to sacrifice my life for the clan. I only hope that you can take care of the clan members who are going to Konoha, and I will be grateful. I don't have much time left, so I won't trouble my sister. After hearing this, Yuda didn't persuade him anymore. After all, as the clan leader of the Uzumaki clan, if he followed to Konoha, the third generation would not say anything for Mito's sake, but he would inevitably feel uncomfortable. After all, Konoha would be easier to absorb and digest the Uzumaki clan without a leader, so that they could integrate into Konoha as soon as possible. But with him as the leader, the Uzumaki clan might stick together. After all, people's habits always have inertia. Looking at the country of whirlpools gradually moving away, Yushin couldn't help but sigh. He still lacked strength. If he had the strength of the first generation and Madara, he would have been so arrogant long ago. Why would he be so cowardly? Kid, what are you going to do with me? At this time, Hanzo, who was lying on the deck, looked at the sky with a resigned expression. He had thought about committing suicide before, but after Yushin told him about the current situation of the country of Rain, he gave up. After all, the entire country of Rain was supported by him alone. If he died, the country of Rain would be finished. How dare I deal with Mr. Hanzo? These are all matters of the Hokage. I have no right to deal with you. Yushin ignored him after he finished speaking. Anyway, Hanzo was just a prisoner now. As for how to deal with him, it was the business of those high-level officials. How much did we lose this time? Yushin asked a ninja from the Senju clan. Captain, in this battle with the Miss Ninja, we sacrificed 2 people. One was seriously injured, and the others were gone. The ninja replied. Well, it's acceptable. As for how to arrange the funeral of these sacrificed companions, I will try my best to negotiate with the Hokage. Have you counted the Uzumaki clan members we brought back this time? Yes. The count has been completed. This time we have brought back a total of 46 Uzumaki clan members, including 31 children under the age of 10, 14 women, and 1 adult man. Okay, I got it. Let everyone continue to be alert, and don't be careless, before arriving in Konoha. Yes. It is much better than the original work where only Kushina was brought back. At least it is likely that the prince will not have to bear the surname of the Uzumaki clan to continue the bloodline of this clan. Yuda turned and entered the cabin, intending to see the situation of these people. As soon as he entered, he was stopped by a little girl. Hey, it's Kushina. What can I do for you? The one who stopped Yuda was the granddaughter of the Uzumaki clan leader and the mother of the future prince, Uzumaki Kushina. At this time, she was still a 4-year-old child. Kushina looked up at the smiling uncle in front of her and asked Yaoshin like a little adult, can we not go back? We won't see grandpa and mom and dad anymore, right? At the end of the speech, her voice couldn't help but become hoarse, and her eyes were still filled with tears. Looking at Kushina with red eyes, Yaoshin slowly squatted down, stared into her eyes and said gently, your grandpa and mom and dad have their own things to do. You have to be good in the future, and don't let them worry, okay? Then will I be able to see them in the future? Kushina asked unwillingly. Yaoshin didn't know how to answer her question. He couldn't just tell her to give up this hope and let her family die. Looking at the silent Yaoshin, Kushina couldn't hold back the tears in her eyes anymore, and they flowed down. But she was sensible and didn't cry out loud. She wiped away her tears and bowed to Yaoshin. She knew that the fate of herself and her people was in the hands of the man in front of her, so she was very respectful to Yaoshin. Looking at the sensible Kushina, Yushin sighed. Just as he stood up, a woman from the Uzumaki clan suddenly rushed over. When she saw Yushin, her eyes lit up. Mr. Yushin, Taku, the adult man from the Uzumaki clan, found an extra large box when he was sorting his luggage. He didn't dare to open it without permission, so he asked me to ask you to go over and take a look. Yushin immediately followed the woman in after hearing this, and Kushina followed curiously. What's going on? Didn't you find it before you boarded the ship? After Yushin went in, he found that the people of the Uzumaki clan had gathered here at this time. They stared at the box in the middle and pointed at it, and no one admitted that it was this. When Taku saw Yushin coming in, he hurriedly stopped the argument of the clan members, walked out of the crowd, and explained to Yushin, the luggage was arranged by the clan leader to be moved up, and we didn't know. Who would have thought that there was an extra box, and no one has claimed it until now. What's in it? Yushin walked up to the box, and observed it carefully, and found that there was no danger outside. I don't know. Isn't it time for Captain Yushin to come and take a look? Taku shook his head, indicating that he didn't know either. You guys step back a little, I'll open it and take a look. Yushin asked them to step back a little to prevent any danger in the box from hurting them. Just when Yushin was about to chop the box open with a knife, Kushina, who followed him, hurriedly stopped him. Hey, isn't this my box? This box was my mother's dowry back then. How could it appear here? Uncle, can I open it and try? Hearing Kushina's words, everyone was relieved. At least it wasn't a trap set by the enemy. Then you be careful. For this sensible little girl, Yushin didn't mind meeting some of her small requests. Thank you, uncle. Kushina thanked Yushin, walked to the box, and fumbled a few times. Kabe. The box was opened. It's my mother. It's my mother. After seeing the situation in the box, Kushina shouted in surprise. Everyone stepped forward and saw a woman with her whole body sealed lying in the box. She was sleeping quietly in the box at this time. 2000 favorites. I will add another chapter today, and thank you all for your support. Chapter 41 Homeward Journey. That is to say, you were forcibly sealed and sent out by your husband. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Damn it, he actually dared to do this to me. I will never forgive him. At this time, Kushina, who was sitting on her mother's lap, looked at her mother who had entered the Tyrannosaurus mode, pulled her trouser legs, raised her little face, and had admiring eyes. Finally, I know who the blood red pepper inherited her personality from. Maybe she thought of something, and after a burst of anger, Kushina's mother suddenly calmed down, looked up at Yushin and said, Yushin, I know this request is too much, but please also save Shianshin, Kushina's father. She cried as she said that. Kushina was very happy to see her mother, but after hearing her mother's words, she thought of her father and started crying. Looking at the two women, one big and one small, Yushin was powerless to do anything about their requests, and could only sigh, sorry. After that, he walked out, leaving the space to Kushina and her daughter. Standing at the bow, Yushin looked at the boundless sea, feeling a lot of emotion in his heart. In this ninja world that regards human life as worthless, only strong strength can guarantee the safety and survival of oneself and family. If there is no strength, it will be like the current whirlpool country, regarded as fat meat by others, slaughtered at will, and they themselves are powerless. After solving several sneak attacks along the way, Yushin and his party successfully entered the territory of the Land of Fire. At this time, in the Hokage's office, a large group of people were arguing. We must not let Hanzo go this time, otherwise it will pose a huge threat to Konoha. Yes, it is because of him that a small rain country dares to challenge our Konoha, and we can't let him go no matter what. Pa. Quiet. The third generation slapped the desk hard, and then shouted, and the office instantly became quiet. In fact, the third generation didn't know how to deal with Hanzo at this time. Just let him go. Just like these people said, with Hanzo, the Rain Country is indeed a threat to Konoha, but if you don't let him go, the current Rain Country can't stop the attack of the Sand Ninja and the Rock Ninja. Now more than half of the territory of the Rain Country has been conquered by the Sand Ninja and the Rock Ninja. If Hanzo doesn't go back, I'm afraid that in less than a month, the Rain Country will be destroyed. At that time, it will be Konoha's turn to face the joint attack of the Sand Ninja and the Rock Ninja at the same time. So although the third generation was unwilling, after weighing the pros and cons, he still planned to ask the Rain Country for a ransom and sign a covenant with them, and then let Hanzo go. Although the covenant is like toilet paper, it's useless to sign more when it's time to fight you, but at least it gives everyone an explanation. In this way, before Hanzo arrived in Konoha, his next fate was arranged. He went back to continue to act as Konoha's shield and help Konoha stop the Sand Ninja and the Rock Ninja. To prevent Konoha from facing a situation where it is attacked from multiple sides. After entering the Land of Fire, the journey became much calmer. Look, there are so many people there. The Land of Fire is indeed the largest country, and its population is much larger than that of the Land of Whirlpools. Yes, the environment of the Land of Fire is also very good. Look over there, aren't those trees very tall? Without the enemy's attack, the members of the Uzumaki clan became more cheerful, pointing at the surrounding scenery along the way. What? We are about to reach Konoha, what are your plans? Kushina's mother held her daughter tightly in her arms, staring blankly at the front. What other plans can I have? As long as I can raise Kushina, that's enough. Looking at the cold attitude of the woman in front of him, Yushin could only touch his nose awkwardly and left with a wry smile. Troublesome kid. A mass of black matter slowly emerged from a tree on the side of the road after Yushin and his group walked away, staring at the backs of Yushin and his group. Yushin turned his head suddenly, but found nothing. What was that feeling of being spied on just now? He couldn't help but mutter. Yushin's spirit is very strong now. The feeling just now is definitely correct. Someone is secretly monitoring them, but ordinary people can't hide from Yushin's perception. Thinking of this, Chen Xiang appeared in his mind. Ah, no, it was the figure of Black Zetsu. But Yushin did not show any abnormality. Black Zetsu should have gained Madara's trust at this time. He must be here to find a new container for Madara's Samzurai. It is better not to provoke him at this time. Madara is not someone he can deal with at this time. Is Nagato's mother also among these people? Logically, shouldn't Black Zetsu be looking for a partner for Nagato's mother who fled to the Rain Country? Why is he here to monitor them? In fact, Yushin thought too much. Black Zetsu had already found a woman from the Uzumaki clan who fled to the Rain Country, who would become Nagato's mother in the future. But when he heard that Hanzo was captured alive, he immediately became anxious. If there was no Hanzo, then the Rain Country would definitely be divided up by the Fire Country, the Wind Country, and the Earth Country. But Madara is now hiding in the Land of Rain. The Land of Rain under Hanzo's rule is okay. There are no powerful perception ninjas and sealing barriers. But if the Land of Rain is divided by these big countries, then he and Madara will not be able to hide. So he came here this time to see if Hanzo is dead, and if he is not dead, to see if there is a chance to rescue Hanzo. Who would have thought that he was almost discovered by Yuda as soon as he appeared, so he immediately gave up the plan to rescue Hanzo. He wanted to go back and tell Madara to be careful of this kid, because he could feel that Yuta had hidden most of his strength. Mom, wait a little longer, just wait a little longer. Black Zetsu's figure disappeared into the ground again, sneaking towards the place where Uchiha Madara was hiding. When Yuta and the others arrived at the gate of Konoha, they saw a group of people welcoming them at the village, entranced from a distance. Of course, they were not welcoming Yuta and other Konoha ninjas, but welcoming the people of the Uzumaki clan, and of course Hanzo. Thank you for your hard work, Yuta. The third generation still held his pipe that never left his mouth, and said to Yuta first. Haha, I'm glad that Sandai-sama doesn't blame me. Yuta was tired of Sandai's tricks. He might as well go home and spend more time with his wife and children. But Sandai obviously couldn't let him leave easily, as Hanzo hadn't been handed over yet. Yuta understood Sandai's intention, and it was not good to embarrass Sandai in public, so he directly asked the Anbu who participated in this mission to bring Hanzo over. As for the people of the Uzumaki clan, Sande couldn't intervene either. After all, Mito was still alive, and how to arrange these people depended on Mito's opinion. When Sande saw Hanzo who was brought over, he immediately shook his hand enthusiastically. Welcome Hanzo to Konoha to discuss the alliance. Hanzo. Other people who participated in this mission. People of the Uzumaki clan. Only Yuda looked down on Sande. What a bullshit to come to discuss the alliance. He was captured by me. You have to look at Sande's face. Thank you for your support, but the author still shamelessly asks for votes, reading, collections, and investment. Chapter 40 to Konoha. This is Konoha. So prosperous. The Uzumaki clan looked at the busy streets and the majestic Hokage Rock, and couldn't help but exclaimed. Tsunade, who returned to Konoha because of the drastic change in the situation, was arranged by Mito to pick up the Uzumaki clan members and take them to the Senju clan's territory. This is because a war is about to begin and everyone is preparing for the upcoming war. You see, most of the people walking on the street now are ninjas. Sure enough, the streets were full of people wearing all kinds of clothes, but all wearing Konoha forehead protectors. They were all Konoha ninjas. But this is too many. There are less than 200 ninjas in our country of whirlpools, and now there are no less than 500 ninjas on this street alone, right? A little kid exclaimed. Stupid, otherwise how could Konoha be the #1 ninja village? Can we compare with them? Another little kid immediately explained after hearing his words. Looking at the bustling crowds and numerous ninjas around, Kushina's mother felt sad. Konoha still had so many fighters, but they refused to send some to support their Whirlpool country, allowing all forces to act recklessly in Whirlpool country. She couldn't help but feel disappointed with Konoha as an ally. Looking at her aunt who was not in a good mood, should be right. Tsunade also knew that Konoha was not doing a good job this time, but she didn't know how to comfort her, so she could only speed up her pace and planned to hand them over to her grandmother. Aunt. After seeing Mito, Kushina's mother directly put Kushina on the ground and threw herself into Mito's arms and cried. Mito looked at her niece-in-law tenderly and then looked at the tribe members with sad faces. It's good that you're here. At least the Uzumaki clan is not extinct. You can stay here without worry and just let Tsunade do anything. If she can't do it, you can come to me. I believe that I, an old woman, still have some faith in Konoha. Mito's eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. She thought of the fate of her brother and nephew. If possible, she really hopes to protect the country of whirlpools, but this matter is not something she can decide alone. It is also related to the layout of the entire village. Where are the others? Mito comforted the tribe members, turned around and looked at the ninjas of the Senju clan who were on the mission this time, and found that a few were missing. The leading ninja had a sad face and didn't know how to answer Mito's question. He thought that he had failed to protect everyone. Is that so? Mito saw his expression and knew that the missing people had sacrificed. He sighed deeply and his face became even more miserable. But she immediately calmed down because there was still a large group of clan members waiting to be resettled. Although the village would not interfere with the resettlement of these clan members this time, if she did not handle it well, Sarutobi would have a problem with the Uzumaki clan. Everyone must be very tired, right? Let's take a rest here today. I will arrange a place for everyone tomorrow. Don't worry. Mito raised her head and said to the clan members with a smile. The Uzumaki clan members nodded, indicating that they accepted Mito's arrangement. When everyone left, the clan leader personally explained that everything should be arranged by Mito. When they arrived in Konoha, Mito patted the back of his niece's wife in his arms and said to the group of clan members, don't blame Konoha for not saving them. Sarutobi also has his difficulties. After all, the situation in the ninja world is changing too fast now. Mito asked Tsunade to arrange for these people to stay first and took his niece's wife and Kushina into his house. After Mito sat down, she waved to Kushina who was standing beside her. When Kushina's mother saw this, she hurriedly urged her daughter, hurry up and call someone. Call auntie. Why call auntie? Just call grandma. Mito waved her hand and asked Kushina kindly, you want to call Kushina, right? Come here to grandma and let grandma take a good look at you. Kushina glanced at her mother and saw her mother nodded gently. She called sweetly, grandma. Then she trotted over and was hugged by Mito. Kushina is so good. Have you been bullied on the road? If someone bullies you, tell grandma and grandma will help you teach him a lesson. Seeing her aunt teasing her daughter with a kind face, Kushina's mother opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something. Mito took one look at her and understood her thoughts. Without waiting for her to speak, he teased Kushina and said, if something really happens to the Whirlpool country, these people will also become the ones who continue the Uzumaki bloodline. Kushina's mother heard this and understood what Mito meant. Konoha could not send anyone to help the Whirlpool country. Mito wasted her time sending Yuta to the Whirlpool country to pick up people. She could not go to the third generation again and again, otherwise the third generation would probably have a problem with her. Well, to be honest, I hope that all the Uzumaki people in the Whirlpool country are willing to move here, but unfortunately, Kushina's mother also knew that Konoha was no longer the head of the Senju clan, so she could only accept her fate. She had no way to deal with the ideas of her father-in-law and the remaining clan members. This is the whole process of this mission. In the Hokage's office, Yuta was giving the third generation a mission report. Because Hanzo was captured this time, Konoha's senior officials and the heads of various families were also in the Hokage's office. After listening to Yushin's report, the Sander just said thank you for your hard work and looked at the senior executives in the office with his pipe in his mouth. After Yushin finished his report, he was in a hurry to go home to see his wife and children, so he didn't have time to stay with them here. Seeing that the Sander and the others had something to do, he went out by himself. Bang! Everyone who heard the sound also came back to their senses from Yushin's words just now. I didn't expect Yushin to have grown to this point. Although there are unexpected factors, it cannot be denied that Yushin can already stand on his own. In this situation, the stronger Yushin is, the more beneficial it is for Konoha. The head of the Nara clan said first. As the chief military advisor of the Hokage, his words also represent the attitude of the three tribes of Ino, Shika and Chao. That is, no one can drag Konoha down at this time. No matter what, at least Yushin is now a ninja of Konoha. Who can sit in the Hokage's office at this time is not a smart person. As soon as the head of the Nara clan said this, he gave up the idea of Yushin. The topic immediately shifted to the Uzumaki clan. By the way, I wonder how Lord Mito will arrange those Uzumaki clan members? At this time, the chief of a small ninja clan saw the representative of the Shimura clan winking at him and immediately understood. Danzo has always been eager to increase his own strength, and he has been paying close attention to the Uzumaki clan who are born with huge chakra and are proficient in sealing techniques. This time, the representative of the Shimura clan is to test the bottom line of the third generation and see if there is a chance to intervene in the Uzumaki clan who moved to Konoha. Please support. Thank you for the book friends who reward and send tickets. Chapter 43 Daily Life. You're back. Kiko saw Yushin coming into the house and stepped forward to help him take off his vest. Well, how is home? Yushin watched Kiko help him take off his vest. He took off the saber from his waist, turned his head, and looked at Kiko tenderly. Everything is fine, but Naoki has been taking Miruta and the others out recently. I don't know what he does all day. Although Kiko complained, the smile at the corner of her mouth revealed her mood at the moment. Seeing her husband return safely and capture the demigod hands of the ninja world, Kiko felt very proud every time she heard the villagers praise Yushin. But at this time, looking at Yushin with a tired face, Kiko realized what kind of efforts Yushin had made behind these reputations. Take a rest first. I'll go boil some hot water for you to wash first. After Kiko tidied up Yushin's vest, she gave Yushin a word of advice and went out. Yushin threw himself on the sofa, thinking back to what he had seen and heard in the land of whirlpools. Now that he was back home, looking at his warm family, he secretly decided in his heart that he must protect this home. No matter who it was, whether it was the third generation, Danzo, or the Black Zetsu and Madara hiding in the dark, as long as they dared to destroy his family, he would definitely kill them in advance. But his current strength was far from being the opponent of Madara in his prime. After all, his eyes were too shameless, and they were simply a ninjutsu amplifier. It seemed that he still had to work hard on his bloodline limit. Although he was not a top student in his previous life, He also knew that electromagnetic force was one of the 4 fundamental forces in the universe. It happened that, in order to enrich his offensive means, he took advantage of an epiphany to completely master the changes in the thunder attribute. Then could this thunder attribute be reintegrated with his bloodline limit to develop a new bloodline elimination electromagnetic escape? But whether this conjecture is correct or not, it will have to wait until the next epiphany to verify it. Huh. Dad, why are you back so soon? When Yushin was thinking about how to improve his strength, Miruta and the other 3 ran in from outside. Miruta was surprised to see Yuta on the sofa and asked without thinking. Jiro and Juto, who followed in, said hello to Yuta obediently and looked at their eldest brother speechlessly. Why, you don't welcome me back? Yuta smiled warmly when he heard his eldest son's words, but that smile was terrifying in Miruta's eyes. What? Aren't you happy to see your dad back? That's why you were surprised just now. Yes, it was a surprise. So I said something without thinking. Yuta didn't know how much Miruta's strength had increased recently, but he was talking nonsense more and more. Yuta didn't plan to do anything to Miruta, he just wanted to tease him because he hadn't seen him for a while. At this time, Zizi came in and saw Miruta, who was at a loss, and Yushin, who looked amused. She rolled her eyes at the father and son and said, "You are so old and still messing around with the kids. Go take a shower quickly, or the water will get cold soon. And you 3, if you dare to run around again, you will not be seen all day long. Watch out for your skin." After seeing Yushin go out, Zizi turned around and scolded Miruta and the other 2. Yes, I know. Seeing Miruta still wanted to talk back, Jiro behind him quickly grabbed him and agreed obediently. Zizi didn't care much about their little actions. After hearing what Jiro said, she waved at them and drove them out. "Why can't you tell Mom? We are self-reliant and we are not making trouble?" Miruta asked Jiro in confusion. After he went out, Jiro looked at him with disdain. "What's the point of telling Mom? Dad is back, so just tell him later. That makes sense. Girls don't like those things, so we should tell Dad about it and see how he handles it." Miruta nodded in agreement. Without mentioning Miruta's plan, in the Hokage's office, after a friendly exchange, Hanzo happily reached a series of agreements with Konoha's top brass, because the situation in the Rain Country was already very serious, and he could not afford to delay. Konoha did not try to keep him, and released Hanzo that day. Because Hanzo was seriously injured, the Enbu came to Yuta's house at noon, called Kiko over, and asked her, and Tsunade to give Hanzo some emergency treatment, which at least restored some of Hanzo's combat ability, to prevent him from being killed halfway, which would have been hard for Konoha to explain. When Zizi went to the hospital to treat Hanzo, Yushin looked at his 3 mysterious sons, and gave them a speechless head slap. "If you have something to say, just say it. If you have to fart, fart quickly. Don't think you can escape this afternoon's training." Finally, as the eldest brother, Miruta bravely stepped forward and whispered to Yushin, "Dad, a few days ago, Naoki found a very strange thing next to the village. He found that there were many earthworms by the river next to the village. Those earthworms were not only numerous, but also very large. So he asked us to go with him to catch earthworms and sell them to the villagers who raise chickens and pigs in the village. But since yesterday, there have been more and more earthworms, and many earthworms are bigger than snakes. So you want me to go and see? Wait for me to deal with those earthworms, and then you can go there to catch earthworms and sell them for money. How can you be so smart? You just want to do good things." Yushin took over his words and was speechless. After all the trouble, they wanted him to be free labor for them, and they were about to refuse. Suddenly, Yushin thought about it, and thought it was a bit strange. How could there be so many earthworms there? There must be something fishy. So Yushin changed the subject, and said to the 3 brothers, "It's okay for me to go, but I have to share the money from selling earthworms in the future." "Why?" As soon as Yushin finished speaking, Miruta jumped up and objected. "Why should you share the money from the earthworms we catch and sell?" Yushin said with a smile, "If I don't deal with those earthworms that you can't deal with, then you can't catch earthworms and sell them in the future. So you have already made a lot of money." Finally, after the four fathers and sons bargained, Miruta and the other three divided the money from selling earthworms into 4 parts, one for Yushin, and the rest was divided equally among the 3 of them. While Zizi hadn't come back yet, Yushin told the nanny at home that he took Miruta and the other 3 out and told them not to worry. He followed Miruta and the others to meet Naoki, who had been waiting for them nearby, and went to the place where the earthworms were found. When they arrived at the place, they found that the riverbank had been blocked by a group of ninjas. It turned out that during the time when Ganta and the others were returning home, someone also discovered the weirdness here and reported it to the village. The village immediately sent people to deal with the matter. In order to prevent the earthworms from hurting people, this area was blocked. It was just that Yushin sensed the situation nearby and immediately found that there were many such earthworms nearby. As for why the 3rd generation and others were afraid of Yushin, I supplemented it in the 3rd chapter today. Don't ask anymore. I will explain it later. When so many people asked, my rhythm was disrupted. In addition, I still ask for votes, collections, follow-up reading, and investment. Thank you for your support. Chapter 44 Mutated Earthworms. Yushin discovered that there were not only mutated earthworms on the shore, but also under the riverbed, and there were more and bigger ones. At this time, the ground on the riverbank was bulging with mounds, about half a meter to 1 meter wide. From time to time, huge earthworms broke out of the ground, but were quickly killed by the ninjas who had been prepared for a long time. Just as the ninjas in the village, who were responsible for handling this matter, were slaughtering the earthworms on the shore, Yushin suddenly discovered that the earthworms under the riverbed moved, and the raised soil quickly extended to the shore. The speed was not much worse than that of ordinary tunin. The width of those raised soil was more than 1 meter, and some even reached 2 meters. Quickly retreat. Yushin, who found that something was wrong, immediately reminded loudly. But those ninjas felt puzzled and looked back at Yushin and the others. Seeing that there were still a few children following Yushin, they thought Yushin was asking those children to retreat, fearing that these earthworms would hurt them. Seeing the ninjas still standing there, Yushin didn't care to think too much and directly asked Naoki and the others to leave here immediately. Before Oak Tree and the others could take a few steps, the giant mutant earthworms under the riverbed rushed to the riverbank. Boom. With a loud noise, the ground mixed with mud and river water instantly turned outward like a piece of iron pierced by a kunai, and then fell into the river, splashing huge waves. Large holes appeared on the ground, and huge earthworms broke out of the holes, and the part that stretched out of the hole alone was more than 10 meters. What is this? How can there be such a thing here? The ninjas who were close to the earthworms could feel the oppression brought by these earthworms the most. This time, there was no need for Yushin to remind them. The onlookers around immediately fled in all directions, and the ninjas also performed ninjutsu to stop the earthworms from rushing towards the crowd. Back off. Back off. There are still many below. At this time, Yushin sensed that there were dense mounds of earth rising under the riverbed again. Although they were not as wide as this time, there were too many of them. He shouted again at the ninjas who were resisting the earthworms on the shore. This time, no one would think that Yushin was reminding those kids. The ninjas all formed seals, earth style, earth flow wall. Boom. The earth flow wall performed by several ninjas together was still very spectacular. A wall about 50 meters long and 3 meters high quickly rose from the ground. But Yushin was so angry that he laughed. With the speed of these earthworms escaping underground, it was useless for you to perform this ninjutsu. Don't dawdle. Retreat quickly. You can't stop those earthworms at all like this. Yushin had already rushed to the side of these ninjas and urged the leading ninja. These ninjas all knew Yushin. After all, the father of the triplets was still very well known, not to mention that he was one of the Konoha twin stars, the Konoha Silver Fox, and he defeated the demigod Hanzo of the ninja world a few days ago. Yushin Jonin, what about these monsters? Seeing that the leading ninja was still hesitating, Yushin couldn't help but shout, go away quickly, don't get in the way here. After that, he ignored these ninjas. Yushin put his hands together, earth escape technique, opened the earth and rise to the ground. A huge volcanic-like earth mountain quickly rose up on the riverbank and the shallow area of the river. As the crater erupted, huge earthworms were ejected from the ground and flew directly into the sky. The earthworms twisted in the air looked like dragons dancing in the air from a distance, but there were more of them. Fire escape technique. Great fire dragon technique. At this time, the Uchiha clan members who were responsible for the security of the village finally arrived. After seeing the scene at this time, they knew that now was not the time to ask questions. A dozen Uchiha clansmen jointly performed fire escape techniques, quickly rushed into the sky, and directly ignited the earthworms that were sprayed into the air. The earthworms were panicked when they were sprayed into the air, and now they were burned by the fire, twisting even more violently. Yushin Jonin, what happened here? The leading Uchiha said to Yushin with a cold face. How could this happen when he was on duty? It's Uchiha. You're finally here. I don't know what happened. I was just about to bring my disciples and children here for training, but you saw it. What bad luck. Yuda looked innocent. Then please hold on for a while, Yuda. Let us deal with these things first. Seeing that Yuda couldn't get anything out of him, the Uchiha immediately shouted to the remaining guards, go and evacuate the crowd quickly, and the rest of you, clean up these earthworms as soon as possible. Uchiha's strength is much stronger than ordinary ninjas. After a while, with the help of Yuda, these earthworms were cleaned up. When Yuda released his ninjutsu, he saw a group of people running towards this side at a high speed. What happened here? Why is there such a big noise? The leader was the third generation who came to support after hearing the noise. Looking at the earthworm corpses all over the ground, he looked at Yuda with a serious face. I don't know either. I just came back today and planned to bring Rope Tree and others here for training, and this happened. Yuda shrugged. Teacher, even you are here. Tsunade followed. At this time, she was wearing a ninja vest, which made her look heroic. She was originally settling the people of the Uzumaki clan, and suddenly heard a noise, and found that it was the place where Oak Tree caught earthworms every day. Don't ask her how she knew. The extra gambling money she had every day explained everything. It seems that the sister still has blood suppression on her brother. Worried about her brother's safety, she rushed over immediately after hearing the noise. It's not clear yet. We need to investigate further. How could such a thing appear here? The third generation watched the ninjas he brought carefully examine the earthworm corpses and took a deep puff of cigarette. Obviously, he was not in a good mood at this time. After all, such a big thing happened near the village, and the ninjas in charge of vigilance didn't find it. It would be strange if he was in a good mood. Fortunately, no villagers were injured or killed this time. But now is not the time to investigate these things. Now we have to find out what caused the mutant earthworms to spread here. As time went on, more and more ninjas gathered here. No one noticed that after a root ninja in the crowd saw the scene here, his face changed immediately, and he hurriedly left the crowd and went somewhere unknown. Hokage. Preliminary examinations have shown that chakra is produced in the bodies of these earthworms. As for how it is formed, it is not clear, yet and further examination is needed. At this time, Ananbu reported to the Sandaike. Well, thank you for your hard work. Then you should quickly start investigating the matter and report to me immediately after figuring it out. Go down. Yes. Then the Enbu had the corpses of the earthworms burned, leaving only a few to be taken back for further testing. Seeing that things here had been dealt with, the Sandaike looked at Yuda deeply. He didn't believe that Yuda didn't know the reason for today's incident, but he didn't plan to delve into it. After all, Yuda is now an important force in the village. As long as he doesn't judge the village, he can pretend not to see everything. Please vote, collect, read, and invest. This week it may be recommended. Please support as much as possible. Thank you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 45 Reason. Idiot. Danzo, who was at the border of the Rain Country, was very angry after receiving the news from his subordinates in the route. Others don't know, but he doesn't know what that place is. Since the third generation gave Danzo full authority to the wood release experiment, Danzo immediately started to study the corpse of the first generation. In order to reproduce the wood release as soon as possible, he also conducted a series of human experiments. However, the corrosiveness of the first generation cells is too strong, so those experiments failed, and the experimental subjects naturally died. According to the original work, Orochimaru had already started to cooperate with Danzo because of the problem of experimental funds, so Orochimaru would also properly deal with these failed experimental subjects. But unlike the original work, Orochimaru here was not coerced by him to help him do live experiments on the first generation cells because of the problem of experimental funds. Therefore, Danzo let his subordinates deal with these bodies that died after failure. How could those ninjas in the route deal with these things? They just found a place nearby to bury these bodies, as if they were cleaning the battlefield. And it is these buried bodies, because they all died after receiving the injection of the first generation cells. They all have some of the characteristics of the first generation cells: abundant vitality, extreme earth and water attributes. So the soil in this area began to transform, and it was also full of vitality and a large amount of chakra of both water and soil attributes. Humans may not feel anything, but for earthworms that feed on microorganisms in the soil, they are very sensitive to changes in the soil. After discovering that this piece of soil is full of microorganisms that are beneficial to them, they began to gather here in large numbers. After several years of metamorphosis and reproduction, they all mutated. This time, it was also because the third generation saw that the wood escape experiment had not produced results, but instead caused the death of a large number of experimental subjects, so he stopped the experiment on wood escape. After receiving the ban from the third generation, Danzo did not dare to conduct human experiments blatantly. Therefore, there were fewer dead experimental subjects, which caused these mutant earthworms to have insufficient food, so they rioted one after another. But now he still had to clear himself from the matter. Danzo put down the intelligence in his hand. Sent someone to deal with those idiots who handled the bodies immediately. Yes. Putting aside Danzo's actions at this time, Yushin's heart could not calm down for a long time after returning home. Just after the Sander and his men dealt with the mutant earthworms that washed ashore, they dug deep into the area and killed all the mutant earthworms they found. Finally, they conducted a detailed search and soon found the recently buried bones. The Sander saw it and immediately understood the whole story. He couldn't help but feel annoyed with his old friend. He had to help clean up the mess he left behind. After seeing his subordinates deal with the mutant earthworms, the Sander was afraid that if he delayed, others would see the suspicion, so he directly announced to the onlookers that the village had dealt with the mutant earthworms, so everyone didn't have to worry about being attacked by these earthworms again in the future. After all the onlookers dispersed, the third generation made a large-scale earth escape, turning the ground in this area upside down and completely burying those traces. However, Yushin sensed that there were several abnormally large mutant earthworms surviving deep underground 3 kilometers away from the scene of the incident. They had quickly moved before sensing the danger. After Yushin saw Hanzo's salamander, he wanted to find a summoning beast for himself, but he didn't expect these earthworms to come to his door today. But now is not a good time to subdue these earthworms. Before subduing these earthworms, he still needs to discuss with his family. What if they don't like earthworms? In addition, Yushin has another concern. That is, earthworms have no eyes. How can they help him fight in the future? When Zizi finished treating Hanzo and returned home, she saw Yushin holding Anzi in his arms and playing with her happily. Shingo sat on the ground alone, eating his fingers stupidly, staring at his father teasing his sister. Zizi went forward and picked up her poor little son on the ground. Seeing her husband's daughter-slave attitude, she said unhappily, "Just spoil him. Be careful that he will be raised in the wrong way and won't be able to get married in the future. Whoever can marry my daughter in the future will be blessed. If you dare to despise my daughter, you are rebelling against him." Yushin glared at Zizi and continued to tease his daughter in his arms. The silver moonlight covered the entire Konoha. Most people had fallen asleep at this time, but due to the outbreak of the war, there were still a few places with bright lights. From a distance, it looked like stars dotting the night sky. Yushin lay on the bed and told Zizi about what happened today, and also told her about his plans and worries. Zizi heard that her husband was worried that she didn't like earthworms, so he was entangled in whether to subdue earthworms as summoning beasts. She was moved and amused. She was moved that her husband could take her feelings into consideration, and she was amused that she was a medical ninja and had seen all kinds of horrible scenes. Why would she be afraid of an earthworm? A Tsunade summoning beast, the slug, is still a slug, but Tsunade still gets along with it happily. And according to Yuta's narration, the ability of these earthworms to burrow underground can well protect the safety of the family. Seeing that Suzuki did not object, Yuta got up and took out a scroll from the cabinet, intending to go and subdue those earthworms now. Go now? So urgent. Well, no one knows where those earthworms will run to after a long time, so the sooner the better. Yuta put on his clothes and pushed the door open. When Yuta rushed to the riverbank, he used chakra to sense and found that the earthworms returned to the bottom of the riverbed and lived there again leisurely. It seems that, although these earthworms have mutated, their intelligence is still not very high, and they can only move by instinct. But Yuta is not worried about this, because he originally planned to subdue these earthworms and move them to live under his house. In this way, after a period of exposure to the beads and a few sudden realizations, the strength of these earthworms can grow rapidly, and they will be able to play their role in a few years. Earth escape technique. Yushin used chakra to sense the surroundings, and after finding no one, he dived directly underground and quickly dived to the bottom of the riverbed. The bottom of the riverbed was extremely damp and dark. Fortunately, Yushin's perception ability allowed him to clearly see the surrounding scenes, otherwise it would be difficult for him to sneak underground for a long distance. Wow. So big. Although he knew that the remaining earthworms were huge, Yushin felt completely different when he watched from a distance, and when he stood close. Yushin found that the remaining 5 earthworms were about 30 meters long, and the largest one was nearly 40 meters long. Please read the collection investment and various tickets. Chapter 46, Spiritual Beast. Although these earthworms are huge, after fighting with them, Yushin found that their strength is at most that of an elite Chunin, and their speed in ground combat is not very fast. After defeating these earthworms in no time, Yushin immediately took out the revolving scroll he brought with him when he went out. This is a summoning scroll made by Yushin himself, prepared just for this moment. After letting these earthworms sign a blood contract with him, he became the summoner of these earthworms. After doing this, Yushin immediately returned home and rummaged through a large number of sealing scrolls from the cabinet. Suzuki saw him busying around and couldn't help but feel confused. What's the matter? Didn't you find it? Suzuki put on her clothes and watched Yushin arrange a large number of sealing scrolls around the training ground, intending to come over to help. The contract has been signed, but although those earthworms are huge, their strength is still a little insufficient. So I plan to set up a sealing barrier here so that they can stay here in the future. In this way, they can also enjoy the same benefits as you, and they will be able to help on the battlefield in no time. Yushin explained to Suzuki without raising his head, while placing the scrolls in specific locations. After about half an hour, Yushin wiped the sweat from his head. Finally, the scrolls were arranged, and he turned around and saw that Suzuki had not left yet. Why haven't you left yet? It's cold at night. Take care of yourself. I can't sleep if you're not here. Suzuki actually learned to act like a spoiled child. Looking at the serious and busy figure of her husband, Suzuki couldn't help but stare at him in a daze. Sure enough, a serious man is the most handsome. Okay, go back to the house first. It will be ready here soon. Yushin carefully checked the placement of the scrolls. After finding no problem, he picked up the summoning scroll with the contract just signed and sat in the middle of the training ground. After spreading the summoning scroll, he cut his right finger to squeeze out a drop of blood and suddenly pressed on the summoning scroll. Sealing technique, sealing heaven and earth. This is a new sealing technique that Yushin developed after several epiphany opportunities to replace the old sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan. This sealing technique can completely separate a small area from the outside world, forming an independent small space. This space can freely absorb various energies from the outside world, making the chakra energy and natural energy inside the space very abundant. Only those who leave their bloodstains and names on the summoning scroll can enter and exit this space. Suzuki watched Yushin operate for a while, and then the scrolls placed around suddenly emitted a burst of light, and then disappeared into the ground. Seeing the puzzled Zizi, Yaoshin came to her side with the spiritual scroll. Write your name and fingerprints on it with your own blood, and then I will give you a copy, so that you can communicate with those earthworms. While they are weak now, you can sign a master-servant agreement. Zizi carefully picked up the scroll, and looked at it for a while, then looked up at Yaoshin in surprise. So I can also have my own spiritual beast? Yes, sign it quickly. Zizi quickly bit her finger, wrote her name on the scroll with blood, and left her fingerprint on her name. Seeing that Zizi had completed the contract for the spiritual beast, Yaoshin put away the spiritual scroll. Don't use this money scroll in the future. Keep it well, and only take it out when someone signs a contract. I will make a few copies in a few days, and we will use that one in the future. Yaoshin looked at Zizi, who was still stunned there, and couldn't help wanting to show off. Why, do you want to go to the future home of our spiritual beast to take a look? Zizi looked at the proud Yaoshin, and at this time she had recovered from the surprise just now. I couldn't help but give Yaoshin a blank look, but I couldn't help but feel curious about the place where my summoned beast lived, so I nodded again. Then come with me. Yaoshin turned and walked to the middle of the training ground, waving to Zizi. Zizi hurried over. I saw Yaoshin wave his right hand, and a hole as high as a person appeared in the middle of the training ground. I set up this seal, so I can go in from here. If you want to come here in the future, you can only let the summoned beast communicate with you in reverse. This is already a small space attached to this world. In order to prevent Zizi from going in from here in the future, Yaoshin explained. Zizi nodded after hearing it, and urged him to take her down to have a look. This passage was extremely dark at first. After walking for a while, a little light appeared in front of the two of them. When they reached the end, a huge space appeared in front of the two of them. Unexpected. I didn't expect it to be so big. Looking at the space with a radius of nearly 20 kilometers, Yaoshin was also very surprised. Zizi looked up and around the space and said in amazement, "Your ceiling barrier is no smaller than the village's ceiling barrier. But it's strange. Why is there light under the ground? Just look up and you'll know." Yaoshin pointed upwards. When Zizi looked up, she saw a huge hole at the top of the space, through which light from the outside world could directly enter the space. How amazing. How is this done? Isolating the space does not necessarily mean isolating light and energy. It's just an application of space sealing ninjutsu. The author doesn't know how to explain it either. Seeing that Zizi seemed to want to ask more questions, Yaoshin interrupted her. "If you have any questions, ask them when you get back. Now we have to summon those earthworms over, otherwise it will be troublesome if we are discovered." "Oh, yes, yes, yes. Summon them over quickly. I want to see what they look like." Looking at Zizi, who was full of hope, Yaoshin couldn't help but feel sorry for her. "Then you may be disappointed. They are not very cute, and except for being big, they are no different from ordinary earthworms." Seeing Yaoshin open the scroll and prepare to summon them, Zizi hurriedly snatched the scroll away. "I'll do it. I'll do it." Looking at Zizi, who seemed to have just got a new toy, Yaoshin could only hand the scroll to her and then walked away to watch her operate. Summoning technique. Zizi squeezed out a drop of blood from her fingertips and performed the summoning technique that had never been used. Bang! Several huge clouds of smoke appeared in the space. When the smoke dissipated, several huge earthworms appeared not far from Zizi. This is the earthworm you mentioned. It's too big." Zizi pointed at the earthworms and said in disbelief, "What's the use of being big? Now their strength is only slightly stronger than that of ordinary Chunin. It will take some time to cultivate them to play a role." Yaoshin shrugged and extinguished Zizi's idea of showing off. Yaoshin didn't intend to hide the summoned beasts. After all, he would have to fight side by side with them in the future, so he didn't intend to stop Zizi from showing off. It's just that the strength of these earthworms doesn't allow it. Please vote, collect, read, and invest. Chapter 47 Madara. A week later, in the land of rain. Damn it. How could Konoha let Hanzo back? We can't go on like this. We have too many casualties. The frontline commander of the Sand Ninja looked at the rampaging salamander. Its tall body moved slightly and crushed many attacking Sand Ninja. Retreat. Seeing the salamander suddenly spit out a black mist, the leader of the Sand Ninja immediately ordered to stop the attack and let the troops withdraw first. "Sir, this is a battle report just sent back from the front line. Please take a look. In the rear command camp, Ibizo was thinking about the current situation in the land of rain, and a ninja suddenly appeared in the tent. As a result, Ibizo opened the battle report handed over by the ninja, and took a look. Damn it. How did Akashi command? How did it cause such a large number of casualties? Is he a pig? He rushed up when he met Hanzo's salamander. Looking at the shocking casualty figures on the battle report, Ibizo, who was always calm and composed, couldn't help but curse. He calmed down a bit, but when he thought of the casualties of the Sand Ninja in the battle report just now, Ibizo began to resent Konoha for releasing Hanzo. If they hadn't released Hanzo suddenly, the Sand Ninja would have occupied the entire Rain Country long ago, and it would not be like now, making the Sand Ninja in a state of limbo. Let's fight. Because of Hanzo's return, the morale of the Rain Ninja is high, and Hanzo's salamander is too lethal to ordinary ninjas, and the Sand Ninja can't afford the loss. If we don't fight, what should we do with the land we have obtained? Should we return it to the Rain Country? In that case, Ibizo doesn't have to go back to the village, and he will be directly humanely destroyed by the Sand Ninja on the front line. It feels like they paid such a great sacrifice to seize the land, but in the end you just gave it back with a light sentence. Didn't they work in vain? As a last resort, Ibizo sent another letter to the village requesting support. After receiving Ibizo's letter for help, the high-spirited 3rd Kazakage immediately sent more people to support Ibizo, and ordered him to keep the occupied territory as much as possible. As a large number of Sand Ninja entered the Rain Country, the casualties of the Rain Ninja began to gradually increase, even more than those of the Sand Ninja. Because every time the Rain Ninja was beaten to a pulp by the Sand Ninja, Hanzo had no choice but to take action. After all, although his injuries had been treated by Tsunade and Kiko, the time was too short, and he had not recovered yet. Hanzo's pressure was also increasing. Hokage's office. Hanzo has sent several messages asking us to fulfill our obligations as allies as soon as possible and help them resist the Sand Ninja. He said that the Rain Country can't hold on any longer. Sarutobi Hirozen knocked on the desk and frowned and asked, "Tsukumo, have you found out the specific situation of the Rain Country?" "Sorry, I haven't found out yet." Hatake Tsukumo shook his head. Because the affairs of the Rain Country have always been the responsibility of Danzo and his roots. Now Danzo is still making trouble at the border of the Rain Country and has not returned. Recently, the situation of the Rain Country has not been reported to the 3rd generation, so Hatake Tsukumo is not clear about the specific situation of the Rain Country. Is Hanzo really unable to hold on? Sarutobi Hirozen could not help but hesitate for his previous judgment. Then, his eyes shot out a stern murderous intent. "No matter what, we must not let the Sand Ninja occupy the Rain Country." Ordered Danzo to wait for an opportunity. Once Hanzo shows signs of peace talks with the Sand Ninja, immediately launch an attack on the Sand Ninja in the Rain Country. Yes. Hatake Tsukumo nodded. A few days later, Danzo, who received the order from the 3rd generation, immediately reported the current situation of the Rain Country to the 3rd generation, and also talked about his actions in the Rain Country. It turned out that, since Hanzo returned to the Rain Country, Danzo began to let his roots provoke the relationship between the Rain Country and the Sand Ninja. Sometimes he pretended to be a Rain Ninja to attack the Sand Ninja camp, and sometimes he sent people pretending to be a Sand Ninja to sneak attack the village of the Rain Country. He had so much fun that he even forgot to report the situation of the Rain Country to the village. After hearing Danzo's reason, the 3rd generation couldn't help cursing. "You are fooling ghosts by burning newspapers at graves." He immediately ordered him to stop his tricks, otherwise it would be bad if the 2 countries found out. But where is the Rain Country? This is where Madara-sama hides. What can be hidden from Black Zetsu's investigation? If Black Zetsu knows, then Madara-sama will know. Humph. The little devil of the Shimura family is still so unpresentable, and he will do some tricks in private. But it's good this way. Let me add fuel to the fire of this war. The huge underground palace is empty and dim, and in the center stands a statue hundreds of meters high and hideous. The statue looks like a human being with skin peeled off, with only muscle-like lines on the body, 9 tightly closed eyes on the face, and the 5 fingers of both hands are open and held up in an upward posture and are shackled to the chest. The texture of the statue is very special. It looks like both rock and ancient wood, giving people a very hard but tough feeling. This statue was the outer demon statue of the Ten Tails. There was a throne in front of it. Madara sat on the throne and chuckled disdainfully. In front of him was the white Zetsu, who had just finished reporting on what Danzo had done in the Land of Rain. The old man slowly opened his eyes, and in his pair of Samsara eyes, circles of ripples spread out. The terrifying pupil power was like boiling magma, and it seemed that even the space was affected, with faint ripples rippling. The woman from the Uzumaki clan who fled to the Land of Rain was not affected, right? White Zetsu said, don't worry, that woman was not affected at all. However, do we really not need to deal with the Konoha ninja named Yuta? He may pose a threat to our future plans. Yuta. Uchiha Madara shook his head, he's just a nobody, don't take him to heart. No, he is the famous Konoha silver fox in the ninja world. Some time ago, he defeated and even captured the demigod Hanzo alive. Humph, so what if he defeated Hanzo? It's also not worth mentioning. Uchiha Madara's old but powerful voice echoed in the huge underground space with strange vibrations. That kid who can only poison. Ridiculous. He showed a disdainful sneer at the corner of his mouth. Even though he looked a little old, he was still a super existent standing at the top of the ninja world and could look down on the second generation Hokage. As for the demigods of the ninja world and the Konoha Silver Fox, he didn't even have the interest to mention them. Protect that woman, and don't let anything happen to her, understand? Yes. Uchiha Madara slowly closed his eyes, and the terrifying pupil power that permeated the underground space slowly retracted. So, have you found a candidate for her husband? This time is different from the original work, because there are still a large number of people from the Uzumaki clan at this time, so Uchiha Madara has higher requirements for the container of his eyes. White Zetsu tilted his head, and his white face was full of embarrassment. Hey, except for those who stayed in the country, the Uzumaki clan is now in Konoha, and will not leave the village. And now the Uzumaki country has been surrounded by spies from several big countries, and it is not easy to plunder people. If it doesn't work, just find him an ordinary person. Don't deliberately make things difficult for me. The qualification of the future container of these eyes in the future is related to my strength after resurrection. This is the key to the success or failure of our plan. White Zetsu, don't be lazy. Uchiha Madara gently scolded. Hey, I see. And it's not like I haven't done anything. I've been collecting intelligence on other Uzumaki clan members. White Zetsu counted among the Uzumaki clan members now. In addition to those trapped in the Land of Whirlpools and those hiding in Konoha, there seems to be a Konoha ninja named Akano who has Uzumaki bloodline, and he was once a companion of the Konoha Silver Fox. White Zetsu saw that Madara seemed impatient, and he didn't dare to continue to play tricks, and hurriedly reported the intelligence he had collected to Uchiha Madara, asking for votes, investment, everything, and thank you all for your support. 3,000 favorites in a few days, and one more chapter. Thank you all. Chapter 48, World War II intensifies. Then it's him. We have to find a new container for the Samsara as soon as possible. It's a pity that it's too early now, otherwise there would be no need to go through so much trouble. Madara made a decisive decision. Yes, I'll arrange it as soon as possible. Madara nodded with satisfaction. Although White Zetsu was a little stupid, he was still very loyal to him. Pa. Who spread this news? It's pure slander against Konoha. We Konoha have always abided by the covenant and our political credit is still very good. Don't let Hanzo be transferred by others. Danzo looked at Hanzo who came to ask for punishment with a fierce momentum and muttered in his heart, isn't Hanzo seriously injured? How come he recovered so quickly? Danzo could feel Hanzo's murderous intention towards him at this time, but he was not panicked. It has been more than 4 months since Hanzo returned. Although Hanzo led the Rain Ninja to resist the invasion of the Sand Ninja, and even personally attacked the frontline base of the Sand Ninja, and fought a battle with Ibizo and Chiyo who came to support, the Rain country still couldn't hold on a month ago. When they were planning to make peace with the Sand Ninja temporarily, Danzo led the Konoha troops across the border, and entered the Rain country, and began to fulfill their obligations as allies, to help the Rain country resist the invasion of the Sand Ninja. So Danzo was fearless at this time. Humph. It's better that someone spread rumors. Otherwise. Hanzo was not surprised to see that Danzo refused to admit it. He came here just to use this incident to gain some benefits for the Rain Country. After all, the Rain Country still has to rely on Konoha to resist the attack of the Sand Ninja. Looking at Hanzo who was leaving, Danzo's face darkened. Didn't you say that the operation was very secret? How come it's spreading everywhere in the ninja world now? Looking at the silent subordinates below, Danzo got angry and waved his hand helplessly, asking them to go out. He guessed that someone was behind this time, otherwise, with the style of the route, there would be no survivors at the scene. Thinking of being forced to agree with Hanzo just now, to send more people to the front line of the Rain Country and the Wind Country, Danzo secretly took the loss this time, thinking that he must find an opportunity to pay it back in the future. The outbreak of the Second Ninja World War made the entire continent even more turbulent. On the front line, the 3rd Hokage had sent Hatake Tsukumo to lead Konoha's ninja troops to fight against the Rock Ninja in the heart of the Land of Grass, making the Rock Ninja village miserable. In the Land of Hot Springs, Konoha's advisor Koharu also led his troops to confront the Cloud Ninja and fought 1 or 2 small-scale battles from time to time. However, the Cloud Ninja continued to put pressure on Konoha, so that Konoha did not dare to transfer troops here to support other battlefields at will. Fortunately, the Cloud Ninja had a conflict with the Rock Ninja not long ago, and at this time both countries focused their attention on each other. Otherwise, if the Raikage or that Suchikage came, Konoha's defense line would be in jeopardy. Konoha would not be able to cope with the war with 3 ninja villages at the same time, no matter how big and powerful it was. At this time, Orochimaru, Jiraiya and Tsunade had not yet been named the 3 ninjas after fighting Hanzo, and it would take a long time for them to become independent benchmark ninjas. Yuta was also arranged by the 3rd generation to stay in Konoha due to trust issues, in case the enemy attacked directly. Therefore, Konoha was no longer able to send strong ninjas to support the battles of the other 3 ninja villages. The Rock Ninja and the Cloud Ninja were fine. Although they were very strong in the cage, as the leader of the village was also very ambitious, they were also fighting each other and could not concentrate their forces to deal with Konoha, so these 2 battlefields were not a big deal. But the Rain Country was more troublesome. Hanzo took advantage of the rumors during this period and kept asking Konoha to send more people to help them resist the invasion of the Sand Ninja. The Rain Ninja began to withdraw most of the ninjas to the second line and began to recuperate. This caused Konoha to be under great pressure in the direction of the Rain Country. In short, the current situation is very complicated, very dangerous, and very delicate. Each ninja village is under tremendous pressure, but at the same time it has also gained a lot of benefits in the war. The Thunder Country invaded the Soup Country, and the Earth Country not only occupied most of the Grass Country, but also bit off a piece of fat meat from the Rain Country. The Fire Country took the opportunity to weaken the strength of the Rain Country and the Wind Country. The Wind Country also occupied a large area of the Rain Country. It is foreseeable that this balance will lead to the war not ending in the short term, unless a force that can reverse the situation suddenly appears. And Konoha, the most powerful, but also the most dangerous, basically survives by disrupting the situation. Otherwise, no matter how strong it is, if it really faces the simultaneous attack of 4 ninja villages, it will be a quick demise. So now the Konoha high level can only keep thinking of ways to intensify the conflicts between the other 4 ninja villages, especially the Rain Ninja and the Sand Ninja, so as to protect themselves. The powerful Konoha village seems to be a little precarious. The consumption of troops on the front line is about to empty Konoha's savings and foundation over the years. The day when Yuta goes to the front line is not far away. The front battlefield of the Rain Country. Captain, we found a Sand Ninja transport team ahead, with 27 people. Stop, Tenji, go ahead and take a look at the Sand Ninja's configuration. The red-haired Akano had been promoted to a Jonin at this time, and his personality had become much more stable as he grew older. As the captain of the operation, he was ordered to sneak attack the Sand Ninja supply line. He asked everyone to stop moving forward and send a team member to check the details of the Sand Ninja. Akano knew a little about Tenji's strength. After all, Tenji had always been Akano's teammate after the disbandment of Suzuki's team. A few years ago, Tenji learned the perception ninjutsu and became a perception ninja. Soon Tenji came back. Captain, the sand ninja in front should be resting. There are 5 jonin in the team, and the leader is also a jonin. The others should also have the strength of a chunin. Akano made a comparison of the strength of the enemy and us. There are 5 jonin, and the leader is also a jonin. If they are combined with the surprise attack, the possibility of destroying this supply team is still very high. Everyone, pay attention. We found a sand ninja supply team ahead. Now all personnel should pay attention to hiding, and follow me to eliminate this team. Akano assigned the tasks, and took the lead, to run towards the place where the sand ninja rested. With the help of Tenchi, Akano and his group chose several positions that were in blind spots in their vision. Akano was alone at the front, waiting for the sand ninja to enter their ambush circle. Not long after Akano and his group ambushed, the sand ninja appeared. This sand ninja supply team obviously also had a sensory ninja. Akano used a secret technique to hide his chakra. This secret technique was also given to him by Shan before he went to the battlefield, hoping to increase his chances of survival on the battlefield. This was the first time Akano used this secret technique after practicing it. After experimenting with Tenchi, he was sure that this secret technique could avoid the detection of sensory ninjas. Sure enough, the sensory ninjas of the sand ninja did not find him. After the sand ninja relaxed his vigilance, Akano held a knife in his left hand, entered a lurking state, and quietly appeared behind the sensory ninja of the sand ninja supply team, and cut the sensory ninja's throat with one knife. The few people who were protecting the sensory ninja in the sand ninja supply team, after discovering the situation, attacked Akano with ninjutsu, kyune, and shuriken. The surrounding sand ninjas quickly dodged when their companions attacked Akano. Facing the sand ninja's attack, Akano disappeared in an instant. From the time Akano appeared, to the time he killed the sensory ninja, to the time he disappeared, it took no more than 3 seconds. The ninjas outside the sand ninja team didn't even have time to react. The attacks of the few people responsible for protecting the sensory ninja did not cause any damage to Akano. Akano's performance not only panicked the sand ninja team, but even the teammates behind him were stunned. But no one noticed that not far from where they were fighting, a pitcher plant was also observing Akano. After seeing Akano's performance, wow, really amazing. It seems that we have to be careful when we act later. Recommended on Sunday. Please support me, and I would like to thank you. I also recommend a Tokyo heroic novel. Author, I Want to See the World. Chapter 49, Missing Akano. When Akano appeared again, the sand ninjas present could see the attacker's appearance clearly. After seeing Akano's outfit, enemy attack. Enemy attack. It's Konoha's ninjas. They actually took the initiative to attack. Did the two countries declare war? It's funny to say that Konoha has been fighting with the sand ninjas for a month, but neither side has declared war. Konoha is facing the enemy on 3 sides and doesn't want to continue to provoke the sand ninjas. And the sand ninjas also want to protect the occupied Rain Country territory and don't want to overprovoke Konoha. The two sides fought each other for a month, but they only confronted each other on the front line, occasionally making a tentative attack on each other, just like conducting an exercise. It's just that Danzo was caught by Hanzo's weakness now, so he had to send several teams to sneak attack the sand ninjas' rear supply line, so the sand ninjas were caught off guard. The sand ninjas were caught off guard at the beginning, and their overall quality was much worse than Konoha. After Akano and his men launched a round of sneak attacks, chaos broke out instantly. But soon under the command of the senior ninja, they quickly stabilized their position and began to organize a counterattack. But after Akano and his team succeeded in the sneak attack, they took advantage of the first-hand advantage and rushed forward directly and soon engaged in hand-to-hand combat with the sand ninja. The sand ninja was famous for its puppetry, and its close combat strength was far from that of Akano and his team. But under the desperate resistance of the sand ninja, some of them were able to pull away. Water style, water wave. Lightning style, ground walk. Wind style, big breakthrough. Seeing that the sand ninja had pulled away and was preparing to counterattack, the Konoha ninja immediately stepped up their attacks, and all kinds of ninjutsu were madly thrown at the sand ninja. Puppetry. A huge wooden puppet flew out of nowhere and blocked all ninjutsu. Boom. The puppet was instantly blown up by a large number of ninjutsu, and immediately wood chips flew everywhere on the sand ninja side. A dozen sand ninjas scattered, dodging the wood chips and the fragments of the mechanisms in the puppets, while also resisting the attacks of Akano and the others. But they had lost their formation, and were no match for Akano and the others. A moment later, all the sand ninjas were wiped out. Clean up the battlefield, take away everything that can be used, and burn the rest. Looking at the corpses on the ground, Akano immediately gave the order. Captain, there is a large number of enemies nearby who are rushing over quickly. Retreat. At this time, Tenchi suddenly shouted. Tenchi saw that the battle was over, and as a perception ninja, he habitually sensed the surrounding situation to see if there were any fish that slipped through the net. As a result, he discovered that a large number of sand ninjas were rushing towards this side. Has the action been exposed? Akano was shocked and immediately ordered everyone to retreat. But it was still a step too late. Half an hour ago, Ibizo suddenly received a secret letter which said that Konoha was going to attack their supply line, and also gave the time and place. He knew that route was indeed the transportation supply line of the Sand Ninja, and that their transport team was passing through this route at this moment. Although he didn't find out who sent the letter, he decided to take people to check it out in person just in case. As a result, before they reached the location given in the letter, they heard the sound of fighting from afar. Not good. The transport team was attacked. Damn Konoha, how dare they? Speed up, we must not let them get away with it. Although there have been rumors that Danzo had provoked the Land of Rain and the Sand Ninja, there was no substantial evidence, so in the face of inquiries from the two countries, Konoha denied it flatly. If it is confirmed this time that Konoha's ninjas did attack their supply lines, then the two countries will inevitably declare war. After all, although the two countries have been fighting for the past month, everyone knows what happened. But if Konoha has really attacked the Sand Ninja before, then both sides will have no room for maneuver. When Ibizo and his men arrived at the scene of the incident, they saw the bodies of the Sand Ninjas all over the ground, and the transported supplies had already been destroyed. Looking at the clues left by the attackers in their hasty retreat, Ibizo waved his hand. Chase. Can't let them get away. Hoo-hoo. Akano ran quickly, jumping wildly between the branches of the giant tree, and looking back from time to see if there were any traces left behind. Of course, the others also ran in other directions. They all deliberately left a lot of traces, so as to confuse the enemy and increase the chances of others surviving. Who leaked the news? Akano thought to himself as he fled. There is a ninja at 3 o'clock within the sensing range. The chakra reacts violently. A sensing ninja in the pursuing Sand Ninja unit spoke loudly. Ibizo said in a deep voice, understood. Team 6 and Team 7, you go around from both sides, and don't let him escape. Don't worry about the others, catch this one first, he should be the leader. Yes. Immediately, several ninjas separated to both sides and surrounded Akano. Ibizo stared at Akano's direction with cold eyes. He is not sure whether it was done by the Konoha ninja this time, but since they dared to sneak attack their transport team, it is impossible for them to escape. Swoosh. Whoosh. Exclamation mark. A large number of Sand Village ninjas quickly surrounded Akano. Akano had already been through a battle, and then began to flee in a hurry. Even though his chakra was much more than that of the average Jonin, he was exhausted at this time and his speed slowed down. The distance between Ibiz and others and Akano gradually narrowed until they were close to a certain distance. A Jonin next to Ibiz had a cold light flash in his eyes. Enough distance. Earth escape. Earth surge jutsu. He shouted, quickly formed seals with his hands, and pressed on the ground. The power of earth escape jutsu is reduced in the humid climate of the rain country, but some special jutsu are exceptions, such as earth flow river and earth shaking jutsu, which will increase the power and range. With the release of this earth escape jutsu, the entire ground in front suddenly surged like waves, making it difficult for Akano to stand on the ground, and the speed of escape dropped sharply. Die. Another Sand Ninja nearby did not hesitate, and jumped forward with a short sword in hand, suddenly slashing at Akano from behind. Swish. Akano, who was restricted by the surging ground, could not avoid the attack in a hurry, and hurriedly jumped into the air to avoid it, but was still slashed from the left shoulder to the right abdomen by the sword. Akano no longer had the strength to resist at this time. He was seriously injured and lay on the ground, with blood foam constantly gushing out of his mouth. It may really be over this time. Akano's mind flashed through his life, and he slowly fell into darkness. Looking at Akano dressed as a Konoha ninja, a sand ninja was about to step forward to finish off Akano, but suddenly a white figure jumped out from under Akano, swallowed Akano in one bite, and then quickly disappeared. What was that just now? Because the incident happened too suddenly, Akano's body disappeared before Ibizo and others could see clearly. Looking at the empty ground, Ibizo gritted his teeth unwillingly. Retreat. Humph. This matter is not over yet. Wait, Konoha, you want to benefit from the quarrel between the snipe and the clam. It's too good to be true. Ibizo was planning to give Konoha a hard blow, and the plan began to take shape in his mind. Continue to ask for votes, collections, and follow-up reading. Chapter 50, Rebirth in Death. Half a month later, the news of Akano's sacrifice was reported back to Konoha, along with the news of the Sand Ninja's declaration of war and Hanzo's betrayal. In the Hokage's office, the third generation was standing there, staring at the two intelligence reports on the table with a thoughtful look. Both letters were delivered yesterday. One was the declaration of war from the Wind Country, and the other was a letter from Danzo asking for help. Alas, Danzo, this idiot, was still controlled by Hanzo. He actually sent people to sneak attack the Sand Ninja's logistics transportation line. Isn't this poking someone's lungs? He didn't even notice that the Rain Country and the Sand Ninja had formed an alliance. It seems that the Rain Country has to change people. But when he thought about the Sand Ninja troops on the border of the Wind Country also began to gather, he needed to send people to defend. And after Hanzo's betrayal, there was no one in the Rain Country who could resist Hanzo, so he also needed to send more people to resist. Otherwise he would really be attacked by the Rain Ninja and the Sand Ninja from there. Thinking of these, the third generation had a headache again. After pondering for a while at the map on the wall, the third generation suddenly turned around and said, "Order. Let Hatakes hand over the troops to Elder Yan as soon as possible and go to the border of the Wind Country to serve as the commander and be responsible for the defense of the Sand Ninja." At the same time, ordered Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru to rush to the Rain Country to replace Elder Danzo and take charge of the war there. Let Elder Danzo return to the village immediately after handing over the troops and wait for the next instructions. Yes. Swoosh. An Anbu on standby disappeared. After issuing a series of orders in succession, the third generation thought of the battle reports he received and the Konoha ninjas who were killed by Danzo's stupid operation. The third generation couldn't help but feel heartbroken. There were only 300 ninjas left out of the 1,500 ninjas. Moreover, most of these 300 people lost their combat effectiveness in a short period of time, and it would take some time to recover. This time, Tsunade was sent over to treat those ninjas as soon as possible to prevent the number of casualties from continuing to increase. Then he thought about it carefully and realized that there were not many soldiers in the village at present. The Uchiha clan had to stay in Konoha, and they dared not send them to the battlefield unless it was absolutely necessary. Otherwise, once the Uchiha was stimulated, things would be troublesome. Most of his Anbu had been sent out, and the Hyuga, Inoshika Chao and other ninja clans, including their Sarutobi clan and Shimura clan, all sent a large number of clansmen to the front line. The third generation suddenly found that the huge Konoha had no soldiers. So after collecting 1,000 ninjas for his 3 apprentices, the third generation set his sights on the students who were about to graduate from the ninja school. There was no time to wait for them to grow slowly, and they must grow up as soon as possible to contribute to the protection of the village. Is there any better place to train people than the battlefield? So when there were still 1 or 2 months before graduation, the school suddenly received a notice to let this batch of graduates graduate early. In the east, the sun had just emerged from the horizon, emitting a soft sunlight. In a house in the Senju clan's territory, Mito sat on the wooden floor, smiling as she watched Kushina learn the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique from her mother. From time to time, she would step forward to give some instructions. At this moment, Naoki suddenly ran in and rubbed Kushina's blood-red hair, causing the little girl to almost cry. Then, she ran to Mito's side and sat down on the ground. Looking at Naoki sitting there, Mito couldn't help but ask, "Why aren't you going to school yet? You're almost late. Today is the graduation exam, and the teachers are all invigilating. We have a day off." Looking at her heartless grandson, Mito fell silent after hearing his words. Of course, she knew about Hanzo's betrayal and Suna's declaration of war against the Konohagakure, but she didn't expect the situation to be so serious that they actually let the newly graduated children go to the battlefield. This was not the result that Ashirama wanted, but thinking of the current situation, alas, I can't do anything about it. She couldn't help but sigh. At the Yuta family, after receiving the news of Akano's death, Zizi couldn't help crying sadly. After all, this was the first person she knew who died on the battlefield. As for her parents, they had died before she could remember, so she didn't have a deep impression of them. Yuta was also very sad after hearing the news. Although this kind of thing was inevitable, he still felt a sigh when he really heard the news of Akano's death. The companion who was once carefree and free and easy and made Yuta envious died like this. The next morning, Yuta's family changed into black clothes for the funeral and went out to the cemetery early to attend the funeral on behalf of Akano's relatives and friends. The weather was very clear at this time. Because of Hanzo's betrayal and the sudden attack of the Sand Ninja, Konoha had no preparation for this. So there were many people who died, and there were also many family members and friends who attended the funeral. I don't think Akano expected his funeral to be so grand. Looking at the crowds of people who were also heading to the cemetery on the road, Yuta said with some mockery. These people included ordinary villagers and many ninjas. Everyone seemed very sad. People who were traveling together on the road seldom chatted and communicated. Many people who knew each other only nodded to each other as a greeting. The sacrifice of so many compatriots in the village and the damage caused by the war were exposed to the public for the first time, like a haze hanging over people's hearts. On Yuta's right was Kiko. Because the nanny at home also had to attend the collective funeral, they each held a 1-year-old baby in their arms. Shingo and Kyoko, Miruta and the other 3 followed them quietly. They had arrived at the Martyrs' Monument, where the funeral was held. Without waiting too long, the Martyrs' Monument was full of people, and it looked like a black tide from afar. Under the attention of the crowd, the third Hokage slowly walked to the Martyrs' Monument and began to mourn the martyrs who died in the Rain Country Rebellion. Many of the participants had relatives and friends who died in this battle. Hearing the third Hokage's emotional speech, many people couldn't help sobbing and stood up. The whole memorial service was full of crying. Then the third generation encouraged everyone and transferred everyone's hatred to the despicable Hanzo and the insidious Sand Ninja, and assured everyone that Konoha would win in the end and avenge their relatives and friends. At the same time, he also called on everyone to work together to contribute to winning this war. This might be a pre-war mobilization. As expected of a politician, he could even use such a thing. Yuta looked at Kyoko, who was sad in front of Akano's tomb, and advised distressedly, "Didn't the body be found? Akano might still be alive." Kyoko also knew that Yuta was worried about herself. She turned her head to look at Yuta and the worried children on the side, and forced a smile. "It's okay, I just thought of the days when we just graduated, and I couldn't help but feel a little nostalgic. Ugh, ugh." Before Kyoko finished speaking, she felt nauseous in her heart and quickly ran to the side to dry heave. Yushin hurried forward and patted her back gently and couldn't help but be surprised. "Are you pregnant again? These 2 little ones are less than 1 year old. How can you come again?" Having had 2 experiences, Yushin knew what was going on as soon as he saw Zizi's situation. Zizi finally recovered, and after hearing what Yushin said, she temporarily forgot her grief and couldn't help but roll her eyes at Yushin. "Can you blame me for this? It's all your fault." "Yes. Yes. Blame me. It's all my fault." Yushin was left with only a silly smile. Then he took the twins held by his 3 sons and said to Zizi worriedly, "Why don't you go back first? The atmosphere here is not good for the baby in your belly." "Yeah." Zizi nodded gently and wanted to take a child from Yushin's arms, but was rejected by Yushin on the grounds that she was pregnant. In other words, with the beads, Ziz's physical fitness can be continuously improved, and the hidden injuries of the body can be repaired. So Yushin is not afraid that Ziz's frequent pregnancies will affect her body. But she is just pregnant now, so she still needs to pay attention. Asking for votes and support. Today is the first day of the round, and Haozi is shamelessly asking for votes. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.